Today's episode of This Is Only a Test is brought to you by Autodesk Sketchbook. Do you like to draw, doodle, or capture your ideas visually, but never have a pencil and paper with you when inspiration strikes? Well, Sketchbook is the app you've been looking for. You can capture and build a quick sketch or build a high-quality render right on your phone, tablet, or computer. Sketchbook is easy to use, free to download, and the desktop version comes with a 15-day free trial, no credit card required. Head to sketchbook.com/tested to download for iOS, Android, Windows, or Mac. And if you like it, remember to use the promo code TESTED when you check out for 25% off an annual membership. That's sketchbook.com/tested to get started right now. And we're going to get started right now. Hey, let's start the show.
It's October 15th, 2015. Welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. Right. Look at that fucking squirrel on my bird feeder.
And then suddenly, the Enterprise D's bridge.
It's the final countdown, gentlemen. I'm Will Smith, seated directly to my left, not wearing headphones anymore, but previously wearing headphones. Norman Chan.
That's me, the final countdown.
Oh, wait, this is going on YouTube. We can't do it. Down. Jeremy Williams is here.
This intro, if you're watching the video, reminded me of when the Grateful Dead were on PBS in 1969, and one of their crew dosed the coffee. So the video
Wow,
team,
that is fucking evil.
Yep. So that's what the video looked like, pretty much.
Like they were just going bonkers back
That's
there,
right.
fireballs and a bunch of real lo-fi assets. They couldn't do that stuff back then, could they?
Yeah, real time?
It was compositing. It was like fading, but slow fades and interesting, techniques.
It's like 70s music videos where they half-tone one shot on top of the other shot. So you see like the full body shot and then the close-up of the face on the other side.
Yeah, but I think they zoomed in on some lights maybe that were a little too closer than they should have been, this kind of thing.
If I had, I can do that. No, I can't do that. Okay, never mind. There's no news this week. It's real slow out there.
What episode is this?
This is 322.
Thank you.
The 322nd episode of this podcast.
Well, last week you did a podcast with Patrick Norton for This Is Only a Test. He was the guest last week.
It's just the two of us.
Jeremy, you were sick, I believe.
I was.
And I was in New York.
What were you doing in New York, Norm?
Well,
did you go to the Guggenheim?
Did not go to the Guggenheim.
Did you go to the American Museum of Natural History?
I wanted to, but didn't get a chance to go.
Did you go to the Museum of the Moving Picture?
Moving Image.
Moving Image?
Did go to the Museum of the Moving Image.
Pretty good museum, I hear.
Great museum. But I was out of town for
Halal cart?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
I was only there in New York for maybe, what's a day and a half? 36 hours?
36 hours.
I was there for 36 hours.
Did you get ramen?
No.
Did you get pork buns?
I planned my day in New York, the 36 hours.
Yeah.
One around this Microsoft event that I went to, and two around the food.
Okay, there was a Microsoft event. We get it. Let's get to the important stuff. What food did you eat?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So I had...
just to be clear, we live in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. It's a good eating city.
Yes.
It is, I think, the best eating city on the West Coast, although LA is pretty good these days. Seattle's pretty good these days. Portland's great. But New York is a whole different world of eating compared to, I think, any place else in North America. Yeah. Okay, so what was your strategy?
So
how many meals did you plan on?
If you think about it, I flew in a red eye, so got in the morning, went straight to the Microsoft meeting. So really had like lunch, dinner, breakfast, and lunch. 4 meals.
Okay, that's a lot of meals. A lot of opportunity there.
It's only 4 opportunities.
Did you go to Katz's?
Kind of. So I definitely started off with a late lunch at the burger place at
Shake Shack.
Shake Shack.
The smash burger.
Had to do Shake Shack. The Shack Stack burger.
So
if you're in New York, and now I think they have franchises outside New York City as well.
That's the burger?
West Coast is known for In-N-Out.
Yep.
In-N-Out's hot garbage compared to Shake Shack.
And now In-N-Out is a turd sandwich compared to Shake Shack. Wow. Now we also have Super Duper in San Francisco.
Super Duper's pretty good.
And Super Duper is, I think, almost the quality of Shake Shack. What I love at the Shake Shack is the Shack Stack. So they have a good, hand-packed patty sandwich, and one of the things they do, they have their Shack sauce, is the bun is really soft. Mm-hmm. And the bun is actually the way they pack the meat in the bun, it's enclosed in the bottoms, so it's not open. It's almost like
it's like a pork bun almost.
Like a taco. It's wrapped around the bottom, but it's still a hamburger bun. And so all the juices from the burger don't fall out. They flow in and get soaked up by the bun.
Yeah.
One, that's fantastic.
They do the smash burger. Just in case you want to replicate that at home, Kenji at Serious Eats did a smash burger.
What's in a smash burger?
Basically, you just take a ball of meat and then you put something that's hot on top of it and mush the ball flat while it's cooking, and that's how you get that kind of consistency with all the juices running out.
When you say hot, you mean like what they cook bacon with, like the
yeah. You basically take one of those flat cast iron things and you heat it up on the other burner, and then you lift that up and smash the burger down.
It's basically frying it on both sides, top and bottom,
simultaneously.
But you also so at the right time, the center is still juicy.
Yep.
So they do that. But what I really like is the Shack Stack. They do a vegetarian burger, which is a portobello mushroom, deep fried, but deep fried with cheese. So it's like breaded portobello mushroom.
That's their health option?
And inside is like gooey cheese, real cheese.
Yeah.
You get that stacked on top of a beef patty.
Oh, that sounds
and
pretty
that's the
good.
Shack Stack.
They do a fried chicken sandwich now, as I understand it, as
I
well.
believe they do as well.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
Shake
Shake
Shack,
Shack?
one. Then for dinner, then for late lunch, I'm sorry.
Oh, you did an 11sies situation?
Yes.
Nice.
Halal cart.
That's a good choice. I mean, I would accept late lunch for that, or also like a midnight snack if you wanted to rock and roll all night.
Halal cart.
Okay.
Then wanted to do Momofuku, but I was so full.
You don't want to go to Momofuku full.
Because it's a lot of water, it's ramen, but I wanted the pork buns. So instead, went to get pizza. I went to Artichoke Pizza. Artichoke, it's just a lot. I mean, New York has so many, it's known for pizza places.
I saw in a movie that San Francisco ruined pizza by putting broccoli on it. Mm-hmm. I think putting artichokes on pizza probably is in the same category.
They have an artichoke pizza, but they also have like your standard pizzas.
Okay.
It was perfect. Thin crust, like crispy bottom.
And a little chewy though?
A little bit, yep, a little bit toothsome on the top. Thin. And it was 1 block away from Momofuku Milk Bar.
Oh.
So then get the milk bar dessert, the cookies.
What'd you get?
Oh, got to get the cereal milk ice cream.
Yeah.
So what this is, and we've talked about this before,
it's good.
is instead of making ice cream just with milk and cream, they soak the milk in cereal. So it absorbs the cereal flavors.
I bought the cookbook. I like this so much. They toast cornflakes, or you can do Captain Crunch or whatever you want, but I usually do cornflakes. You toast that in the oven to get it all browned and flavorful, and then you soak that in milk for like an hour, cold milk for an hour, add a little bit of glucose, and I think that's pretty much it. Then you strain the cereal out.
Yes. And
I
that
usually
milk,
make dog treats out of the leftover cereal because Chloe likes them.
And that milk is then used to make ice cream.
Or all sorts of other. You can just drink the milk too. Like that milk is dope on cereal.
That's right.
Yeah.
Cereal milk, and it's double cereal milk.
Yo, Norm, I heard you like cereal.
We'll have some cereal milk cereal.
Yeah.
Then did that.
I'm jelly.
And then I believe the next day I went to a Cuban place. A lot of great Cuban places. I forgot the name of it. I was late for another meeting.
Monte Cristo or did you get a sandwich? Something with pork in it?
I forgot, what did I get?
Goat?
Oh, I got their version of like a fried rice with chicken on top of their, like, it was very good.
Okay.
Regardless, and then I think that was it.
That was the whole run. Okay.
Yeah.
It was a good trip.
It was a very good trip. But let's talk about this Microsoft event. I know you guys talked about it last.
We just hit on it a little bit. We recorded right as the event was still going. Because it happened on Tuesday.
It happened on Tuesday.
So we recorded on Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
They announced a ton of stuff. So they announced Surface Pro 4, the Surface Book, which I think is a huge deal, Band 2, some phones, and some Xbox stuff, a little bit of Xbox stuff.
Yeah, you can read the announcement itself. It wasn't in as big a venue as Apple's Bill Graham Civic announcement. You know, they did live stream it, and it was very much a Microsoft presentation, but it was one of the good ones. And I think if there's any turning point in Microsoft's hardware history, even though they've been making the Surface for years now and they've been making the Xbox, I think people are going to be able to point to this event as their 2007 iPhone event.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I missed it entirely. I moved 2 weeks ago, and I was like literally without internet. And when I did have internet, I had boxes to unpack. Now I have to go back and watch this event.
The event started off with your Terry Myerson, head of Windows, talking about growth and success in Windows 8 or to Windows 10 adoption, which whatever, that's the equivalent of your Tim Cook talking about iOS and Mac OS adoption. Then they talked about 3 products, HoloLens, Lumia phones, and the Microsoft Band. All 3 of these products I don't think are where Microsoft wants them to be. And while they did announce new things about these products, like, oh, we have a new Band, which is a second version, it's their fitness smartwatch, as opposed to directly competing with Apple and making a smartwatch. They're competing with Jawbone and the Fitbit, but charging like $200 for a Band, putting a big OLED screen on it and make it that way. It's not going to be a fashion piece. It's a fitness piece.
It's weird to me that they call it that, like, it tells time, right?
Yeah. Well, so does Jawbone.
But there's Jawbones that tell time, but the basic Jawbone, the cheap Jawbone, is basically just a band with no screen that just measures motion. Yep. If it tells time and it gets notifications, that sounds a lot like a smartwatch to me.
I think it's semantics. When you have something like Nike Fit, or what was it called?
Nike Fuel Band.
Nike Fuel Band, and that told time. I would never call that.
But the notifications to me are the thing, right? Here's the thing. I don't think it's a bad thing to call it a smartwatch. It's the only one that looks like something from the future that does that stuff that's good. Because the Fitbit Surge, the one that has a screen, does notifications and GPS and all that, I sent back. It was so bad. Yep. We didn't even bother like making a video for it. Yep. I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to say about this other than you should not ever spend money on it.
Well, they all have, they have. I think what they want to push is that this has a ton of sensors in it. Regardless,
so does a smartwatch, though.
Oh no, yeah. Yep.
Yes. So we're arguing semantics.
Yes, it is totally semantics. It is a marketing thing where they want to sell toward one audience, and they want to say they're the best at this type of tracking. Where Apple says their device has tracking, but it's going to be the beautiful timepiece that's going to replace your analog or digital watch.
That thing looks really cool.
What does?
The Band.
Yeah.
Look at it. You don't think it looks cool? It looks like a prop from a science fiction movie.
About.
Hold it up, Norm.
Show Jeremy. I'm not wearing it right now.
You're wearing. Oh, okay. Yes, you're not wearing it right now.
No.
The first generation Band.
Yes.
The first generation Band looked cool. It looked like a prop from a science fiction movie, and they should lean into that. That is a good thing.
So when the Apple Watch was announced, you tweeted, "Oh, it's just a watch." You wanted it to be something other than what we'd seen.
Well, I wanted a different paradigm.
Is this what you wanted?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think. I think. I mean, this one has like a curved screen, but when I saw it, it's still pretty bulky and thick. I think sensors are tough to pack in a form factor.
What sensors does it have?
Has your accelerometer, a GPS, your gyroscope, your barometer for altitude,
just like your iPhone,
and your heart rate sensor, UV sensor, so it knows if you're outdoor or inside.
Does it track your UV? Like how much UV you get over the day. So it says, hey, you need to get out of the sun now or you're going to get cancer.
Exactly.
That's useful. That's a good thing. Yes.
So I think those things,
Anything else?
But regardless, I mean,
temperature?
I don't know if it does maybe.
Okay.
It'll take data from, your iOS. So if you have an iPhone and it tracks your walking and you're not wearing the band that day, then I think it'll put it into the band information, all kind of put all the information together. They're selling a service, basically. It's a device to help power their health service, health tracking service. Regardless, I think the Band, the Lumia phones, and I know some people love the Lumia phones, and this is the first big one with Windows 10 on it. I think the Band, Lumia phones, and the HoloLens are not this year's products.
You think these are for the future?
I think that there will be better versions of these products in the future that may be more in line with Microsoft's the strategy they laid out.
So they're still working on the third, they've been through the first gen with a lot of this stuff.
Yep.
In the case of the Lumia phones, they're in like the third or the fourth, and you think they're still not up where they
Microsoft,
need to be.
I don't think Lumia phones are long for the world.
Oh, you think Microsoft's going to pull out of phones entirely?
No, I think that they're going to look to where their successes have been. And
you think Surface phones are the future?
I think Surface phones are the future. That's my guess.
If you look at the performance curves on ARM and x86, I think what's going to happen is that we'll have ARM processors that can run x86, or we'll have x86 processors that are low power enough to run on phones, in the next, say, 2 years. And when that happens, things get interesting.
Well,
for Surface phones.
I don't know what a Surface phone is, but this event was billed as, the Surface device event. Like when people were hyping it up, like, oh, Microsoft's finally going to announce the Surface Pro 4, or they're going to announce, they're going to announce the next gen Surface because people love the Surface Pro 3.
Yeah.
And then they also put, here's HoloLens, which is going to be a dev kit for $3,000, and here are 2 new Lumia phones, which we spent a lot of time talking about. But I don't feel like their heart was into selling these Lumia phones.
So what was the audience reaction when the HoloLens announcement came out at $3,000? Was there a gasp? Did people cheer?
I don't think people cheered or gasped. Microsoft employees clapped.
Of course.
Man, those are the people who sat in the front.
Really? They didn't have press in the front even?
So if you watch the event, and Jeremy, I really encourage you to watch the video of the event.
I'll watch it.
The way it was set up, it was like a amphitheater style seating, and they had couches in the front and like tables, benches along.
Like a club?
Sounds like theater.
Yeah.
It was a nightclub.
But it was well lit, and then elevated up a little bit. So everyone sitting had either, they were either on a couch, a row of chairs, or had like tables like this in front of them to plug their laptops into. And I believe all, if not most of the people who sat in the front were Microsoft employees. And so they're the people cheering the hardest.
Okay.
The thing with the Lumia phones, there are 3 of them actually. There's actually a low-end one too. 950 and 950 XL. They run Windows 10. The cross-app stuff isn't that exciting right now because there aren't a ton of Microsoft Universal apps, Windows 10 Universal apps. There will be Facebook. There will be, Instagram, Spotify.
But I mean, that stuff's required. It's not like that's nothing to crow about. Hey, we have Facebook.
Yeah, and that stuff is only going to matter if you want to use the phone. The big selling feature is, hey, you can plug this phone into a monitor and turn it and get a desktop
But you
experience.
have to plug it into a dock, right?
You can plug it into a dock, into a monitor.
A continuum dock is what you have to do, or whatever they call it.
The Surface dock, because it's USB-C, but I'm sure people will sell the USB-C to DisplayPort adapter, and you can do that.
I thought that there was a wireless HDMI thing too.
No, it's USB-C. USB-C to the dock to DisplayPort or HDMI. But like all USB-C accessories, you can do USB-C to HDMI, USB-C to DisplayPort.
Oh, so it's literally just a USB-C to DisplayPort adapter.
Yep.
It's not anything special.
Nothing special.
Okay.
They're just selling the hub that gets USB ports and DisplayPort and HDMI.
I mean, when you plug that in, what you're going to get is ARM Windows Universal apps. You don't get a real desktop browser
exactly
and all
what I'm
that
saying.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
You get Edge, which is their browser, which is a universal app. And it's not a big selling point to, I think, anyone in this room.
This phone isn't for people in this room.
Well, but it's a high-end phone. So when Satya Nadella talked to Nilay from The Verge in their post-announcement, fireside chat at the Microsoft store, the New York Microsoft store, he asked, like, why do you have this functionality in the Lumia phone? Who is this for? And Satya Nadella talked about, in emerging markets, your phone is the most important device. A lot of people don't have phones and laptops and computers. And I get that point, People need mobile. It's a mobile first world, increasingly becoming. And in some countries, if you're going to buy one device, people are going to buy the phone. And then it maybe is convenient to buy a phone that you can plug into a monitor and it also be the computer you type your school reports on. But that doesn't make a lot of sense for a flagship high-end phone.
Right.
Put this in the entry-level phone and give me something else for the high-end phone.
I think your point about this being a product, these being announcements for 2 years from now is probably right.
Yeah.
Like if this is an x86 processor in the phone and they can run real Windows on it, then it's a whole different thing.
Or they're going to see what the universal app development is like.
I mean, they're 3 years into that now. So how's it worked out so far?
So it really was a Surface event. And I think that's the area where they can be really confident and they can be loud and they can say they've had, relative success and tell a good story. Surface Pro 4, from what I saw, awesome. Everything I liked about the Surface Pro 3, except better.
You did a really great video where you showed the new touchpad and the keyboard. The new keyboard looks phenomenal compared to the old Surface Pro 3 keyboard.
What about it?
It's chiclets instead. So if you look at Norm's Surface Pro,
the Surface 3.
it has the old style, like the old pre-unibody Mac design flappy keyboard, square keys that kind of rock a little bit. So you have to hit them pretty much square on, or else you may misfire. The Pro 4 keyboard is chiclet keys that press uniformly across the whole. It looked like they press uniformly across the whole face of the button.
So there are three things when you talk about Surface device, because with laptop it's just like if you look at a MacBook Air, you're only buying the one thing, the MacBook Air or the MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
On Microsoft side, on the Surface Pro side, there are three components. You have the computer, the tablet, you have the pen, and then you have the keyboard. I think they made improvements across all three of those parts. So keyboard first, since that's a primary point of interface. The keys are now chiclet keys, like Will said. They feel better. They take up more space. The trackpad is bigger, and now it's glass.
Does it work?
It works.
So the 4 Pro and the 3 Pro and the 3 trackpads are almost but not quite useless in my experience.
They're too rough.
They're not sensitive enough. You can't click. I find them unusable. I just use the touchscreen exclusively on my Pro.
Is it a button? Is the new one a button?
It's a button.
Yeah.
Still a button. It's glass. Feels great, and you have your. I mean, you can see right now on my screen using the Surface 3 keyboard. It's okay, but it's like I can't even get in the side swipes or anything, and it's not big enough. So on the 4, it's big enough. The keys are better. They're still backlit, and that new keyboard will work with the Surface Pro 3.
That's awesome.
So for people who bought the Surface Pro 3 last year, and it doesn't make sense to buy a new Surface Pro this year, the keyboard is actually a really good get.
So let me ask a question. We're 4 generations into this, 5 if you count the Surface 3. Should they just be selling the keyboard cover with the device now? So, there's no reason for that to be an accessory. Nobody's going to use one of these without the keyboard flap, are they?
I think people do, because you can have Bluetooth.
I guess you can just use any Bluetooth keyboard.
Use any Bluetooth keyboard. And Microsoft sells one.
I mean, there's a bunch of really good Bluetooth keyboards, including ones with, Microsoft and Logitech both have great ones with trackpads included.
What you're buying with their keyboard is their magnetic hinge system.
Yeah.
So it attaches in 2 places, on the bottom, and then a second hinge, so it actually it's rigid, right? That's for their lapability claim. And then also their new keyboard, there's an upgraded model with a fingerprint isometric, or not isometric.
But that's fingerprint sensor.
Biometric fingerprint sensor, which it's no Touch ID, and that's not because of the sensor side. It's because it's just not well integrated in iOS. Into Windows.
But the people who are buying a keyboard cover with the fingerprint sensor, that's an enterprise thing. They want 2-factor biometric for SAP companies.
And I think, and I asked one of the people there at the keynote, this fingerprint thing, who's going to buy that? Is this something I can use to unlock 1Password in the future? And he said, that's a Windows. That's not the hardware side. The Windows team, Terry Myerson's team, needs to create APIs to have that everywhere.
Man, it's like the old XKCD where the different divisions of Microsoft are all aiming guns at each other. That is such a Microsoft thing. Oh yeah, we don't have in 2002 when they rolled out the first touch computers, tablet PCs. They said, oh yeah, we don't have support in Office because it's a different division.
So
it's crazy.
That's the keyboard.
Did they give data on the sales trend for the Surface line over the years?
Yes, I believe they did. Let me see if I don't know if I have notes on this computer.
It's going up and to the right.
I believe they did almost $1 billion in revenue on the Surface line last year. And I want to say sales doubled from the year before. So it's definitely an upward trend. I think the Pro 3, and if you think about MacBook design doesn't change much.
Yeah.
The guts change, but you get maybe every 3 years a big physical refresh.
Well, but that was after a long time. I mean, they evolved for a long time before they got to this point.
And then the minor changes are like the trackpad, the new stuff, maybe some of the key arrangements,
faster SSD stuff like that.
Microsoft is still in that beginning part of the curve. Remember the MacBook Air changed 3 times real quickly before we settled on a design that we've had for too long now. Microsoft, the Surface Pro I think they're finally getting into what they want that laptop to be, that tablet to be. So the pen is now bundled. So that's no longer an optional accessory, which is nice. That might be the biggest, I think, improvement to the Surface line, and we'll have to test this. They say it's lower latency. They say that's because there's a dedicated chip in the Surface now that does all the calculations for that.
Okay.
It's their N-Trig technology that they bought. They bought the company. So you have 2 big digitizer companies, Wacom and N-Trig. Microsoft bought N-Trig. And And the pen now, they changed the tips of the pen. So when you write on it, and I showed this in the video, it feels mushier. It feels like you're writing on a resistive surface.
It doesn't feel like you're writing with a hard nib on glass.
A hard nib on a hard nib. Like hard surface on hard surface. Like, it doesn't slip, which is a big deal.
Like having tactile, like having that drag on the pen tip is really important to mimicking a pen for normal people.
If you look at any of the styluses for the iPad, for example, some of the, who makes one of them?
Adobe.
They licensed that software from.
You're talking about Jot.
Jot, right?
Adonit is the name of the company.
Yeah, right. Adonit. Their pens, they're all hard surfaces, and the iPad's a hard surface, and so they never felt really great. And then the soft surface ones were real big, were real fat. Like
like the Cosmonaut,
and
the
even
pencil.
the pencil, the 53 Studio 53 pencil.
No, because the iPad wasn't made for a pen.
Exactly,
they have to look like fingers.
So when we see the iPad Pro coming out later this year, that's gonna be a big thing. How does it feel? Like I think three factors. You think of the tactile feel of the pencil, of the stylus, the latency, which you can study under a high-speed camera, and also the parallax. How it does with the glass.
Well, the parallax is a software problem, right? Because it's a software and hardware problem. The closer the screen is bonded to the digitizer, the less parallax you have to deal with.
It's a stack. How thick that stack is.
But the software should be able to adapt based on the way you hold the pen, where your eyes are, especially if they're doing anything tricky like tracking where your eyes are with the cameras, which they're not.
No one's doing that. And then also palm recognition, which there's a lot of data to do. Like palm
recognition's simple, right?
It's not.
It should be if you control the pen and the digitizer and the software on all those devices.
You know how it actually works? It is an image map of your hand on the the screen.
On the Apple side or on the Surface side?
I think on both. Where it takes the data and it knows that this is the shape of a hand.
So it's like an ergonomics and kinematics thing that it's using.
And then now it's a palm. Let's not detect that. I think the pen, it could be improved. It definitely felt better when I was using it. And then, of course, on the actual tablet side, the Pro 4, they made it thinner than this guy, thinner than the Surface 3.
That's impressive.
They can pack, Core i5, a Core i7 in it. And I think a lot of it has to do with the cooling in it. And it felt really light.
There's a fan in this one?
There's a fan in this one.
Okay.
And it's a really good question. Like, Apple made a big deal about the MacBook, the 12-inch MacBook not having a fan. The Core M series of Intel processors that get put in like a lot of Ultrabooks now.
What would have been CULV or something before, right?
They say, oh, this is super thin and light and it has no fan. And you think about, okay, so why is there this negative association with the fan? One, because it takes power, gets noisy, and it's a point of failure.
It's more noise and failure, I think, than anything for most people.
Yeah. So I think Microsoft acknowledges that and says, okay, they're going to include a fan in this, but they're going to design a fan their way so it's not noisy or it doesn't break.
I mean, the thing for me is that the fan is a problem on both OS X and Windows because the software, the OSs don't handle the fan well. Like there's no easy way to open up Activity Monitor or Task Manager and say, okay, this is the application that's hitting the CPU so hard that the fan's spinning. Like if I'm running Premiere, I expect the fan to spin. I'm okay with that. I'd rather have the fan spinning than have it throttle down and get slow. On the fanless machines, you have no way to know what's slowing you down and what's hitting the CPU so hard other than to just look at the CPU usage and kind of eyeball it. And in some cases, stuff like Chrome, which does a lot of memory paging in and out, will fire up the fan on a Windows machine or a Mac without any CPU utilization at all, making you think that you're having problems.
Yep. So
and also nothing tracks GPU utilization on the OS level unless you have a driver that happens to do that.
Yep.
So yeah, like I am pro fan in current x86 computers, even stuff like the Surface 3.
Yeah, you're right. And it's something that over time, the firmware is supposed to fix it.
And the OS will support it better.
And the programs will be able to tell the OS, and give little triggers for disabling fan, enable a fan that's more transparent to the user. If they ended the event there, I think it would have been a fine event. I think they would have been, okay, they talked about the roadmap for their HoloLens. They gave a cool HoloLens stage demo, which you should watch. Only for that. It's the Project X-Ray that I tried out at E3. Did you watch this, Will?
Yes,
X-Ray?
the Pew Pew game.
Yes.
We talked about this last week. I think They didn't give you any hands-on with HoloLens while you were at this event,
No one
right?
got to put on HoloLens.
So the problem I have with these demos is they look really magical when they put a giant HoloLens screen in front of a camera and it looks like the whole stage is illuminated with AR stuff at the same time. That's not when you put the goggles on, that's not the effect you get because the field of view is very small in the goggles. I don't think that that's as bad a thing as a lot of people make it out to be, but I feel like it's really disingenuous to put the camera up in front of people and make them think, oh, this is going to fill my whole field of view just like it does this camera. I can see everything on the stage. The game looks really fun.
Looks neat. And clearly it illustrated the room mapping and how you interface with the real world more so than just like the surface of a table and Minecraft on the floor and something like that. I'm not surprised they didn't show Minecraft because of the Oculus announcement. And the $3,000 announcement took me a little aback, but I think that really projects out there that, hey, this is not for you guys. This is something that we need people to work on and make smaller. And then I'm glad they're not just pushing out there. It's like Google Glass.
Or the VR headsets. I mean, if you look at a lot of people looked at how Oculus handled their dev kit rollout and looked at that and said, oh, well, they kind of made a mistake because now they have this massive user base of dev kit purchasers who may or may not actually be developing software that they have to support. And it's been an incredible drain on Oculus. And I don't think
disappointment. It already sets an expectation that isn't their first impression that they want on a lot of people.
Right.
Now, granted, the first impression can be really good for something like Gear VR, and you can just get more excited over time. But some of those people put $250 on a DK2, and they're done.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I've talked to a bunch of people who are like investors and stuff like that who had an experience with the DK1 and said, no, this isn't ready yet. Well, I'll come back in 10 years. And have discounted all of the stuff that's happened in the last 2.5 years because their DK1 experience was bad.
Well, I thought the DK1 was phenomenal. I'm surprised that they had that experience.
Well, it depends on what you did. If you jumped into some 360 video with the DK1 and the camera you were on a roller coaster, you're going to start throwing up. It's not good.
Yeah, I guess
I mean, you can do really horrible things to people with the DK1 and even DK2.
But that's going to be true of every technology.
Of course.
I think HoloLens is Microsoft's Google Glass, and
that's a horrible thing to say.
Well, I mean, Google's sticking with it.
Geez, dude.
They're going to struggle to find people to make cool things for it, and they're going to struggle to make the hardware smaller. And if they're talking about $3,000 for the hardware, I don't think it costs $3,000.
You don't think so?
It might.
I think
that might be their actual
the
cost.
It wouldn't surprise me
to make it so it's only people are really going to develop for.
Here's the thing:
because it's an embedded system. I mean, unlike the VR headsets, this is a computer, and that's micro small.
The money I don't think is in the computer. It's going to be in the projection system and the optics.
And I think it's ARM. It seems like it's an ARM based. So it's just a cell phone with a screen in a helmet. The thing that's expensive is the optics. Like that's a display type that we've never seen outside of incredibly small micro displays like in the Google Glass. And they're doing it at a massive, like even though we knock it for the field of view being small, they're doing a display at a much higher scale than anybody else is doing. And it's probably pretty expensive until they ramp up to capacity.
I would imagine that there's more computational demands placed on the computer than a cell phone would withstand.
I think it's
pretty light.
The computational stuff, the tracking,
from what we've seen, the meshes that it generates from the environment,
low res,
pretty thin. Yeah,
it's structure. I mean, the structure sensor did similar stuff.
Yeah, it's very analogous to the structure sensor. It's a depth camera that maps and finds flat surfaces, and it basically, if it sees something that it thinks is flat, it drops polygons there, and that's it.
But the VR headsets are putting all of that onto the computer. They're not handling any of that.
Well, the Gear VR.
Yeah, well, that's true, but they're not doing any kind of room tracking.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
When is the $3,000
ship spring
HoloLens?
I think developers can sign up for it now, and spring or early next year is what they said.
Do you know anyone who's getting one?
I have no anyone.
Hi.
I would like to know. Are you getting one?
I haven't decided yet.
Yeah.
Wow. I'll know next week.
We'll borrow from Will.
We'll see.
We'll borrow Will's HoloLens.
We'll see what the NDA says. See what the embargo says.
As far as price, it's interesting that the Vive was free though, and this is $3,000.
Well, the Vive's only going to be free. The Vive's only free to limited to developers.
No doubt, but they're saying this $3,000 kit is just for developers too.
No, I know, but the Vive is going to be on sale at full price for developers to buy in a couple of weeks. Right, a few weeks in November sometime, presumably. And then we'll see real retail price Vives in the spring.
Yeah.
So anything else out of the Microsoft
Yes,
event?
of course. So
on the ground stuff.
So at that point, after the announcement of the Surface Pro 4, we're like, that's great. This is the new Surface. It's thinner. It's lighter. They didn't go just Core M. It turns out that there is a Core M model, but whatever. At least you have the i5 option.
Are they still delineating the Core M as a Surface 4 versus Surface Pro 4?
It's Pro.
They're all pros? Okay.
I bet the Atom is if they do a Surface 4 that's not a Pro,
That'll be an
Atom one,
Okay.
is my bet. And they're still keeping the Surface. They're doing like the Apple line where, the last year's model is just cheaper now. So the Surface Pro 3 is now cheaper. And then they're like, oh, but we want to show you one more thing. I'm like, oh, this is interesting.
They said one more thing?
I don't think they said one more thing. They framed it in a little more wordy way. They're like, we had so much success with the Surface Pro 3, and this is Panos Panay, who's amazing on stage presence. Really aggressive presence.
Did he call anybody out from the audience? Any reporters this time?
Not this time. I don't think
Because last time he came after Joanna Stern from the Wall Street Journal,
and Mary
hard.
Jo Foley, and
Right.
So
maybe you got notes on that.
maybe. And he's head of like all their devices now, Microsoft devices.
Okay.
So I think he framed it as like, okay, Surface Pro 3 was really successful. People were really happy with it. People were finally loving this thing. So we had two things we could do. We could, one, double down on this, or two, we could reinvent the platform. And so we doubled down.
Oh.
They doubled down with the Surface Pro 4. And that was fine.
Right.
And then after that, I said, okay, you know what? We doubled down. Let's also reinvent the platform.
But wait, there's more.
And so, and then watch this video. And so you watch the video, and it's like, what is this video? Is it another product? And it's like this very Apple-like CG rendered device, and very clear that it is a laptop.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Lots of close-ups and
lots of
angles.
close-ups, angles.
Was there an English guy talking about how they designed it? And
No,
they
just like-
wanted to
just
take
music.
the lines from a Jaguar or something?
And then lots of shadows and lights are illuminating, and from different angles you see it from the side, you see the hinge open, and then he walks out on stage, goes, "This is Surface Book," and Microsoft's first laptop.
Wow.
And so I'm like, I thought, has Microsoft really never made a laptop?
Nope.
They have never made a laptop.
No.
They've done actually a lot of tablets before.
They didn't make tablets. They were all with partners.
UMPCs. Remember they made that? They tried some other.
That thing they never released, though.
Yeah. Right.
That was a complete shit show.
So
So it's basically a Surface
And it was
Pro
still partners. I think it was Asus or somebody.
without a removable keyboard?
has a so it's a laptop.
Yeah.
Oh wait, so you really have not seen any
Jeremy's
of this
totally
presentation?
cold on
I'm
this.
telling you.
Oh my! I almost want to not tell this to you because I want you to experience
We talked about it at length
the
last week.
demo for yourself. And
when we
then
get one in a few
see,
weeks.
no, experience the video of the presentation.
It's a laptop, dude. I mean, what?
Okay, so this is wonderful. Okay, I'm just going to tell you because I think you're going to appreciate the showmanship anyway.
All right.
So you came on stage and you said, "This is the Surface Book," and we made the ultimate laptop, and it's like a 13-inch computer, with a 14-inch screen, so very thin bezel, super high resolution. It touches, so you can still touch the screen. So it's a touchscreen laptop.
Yeah.
Magnesium laptop, really thin, i7, and has dedicated graphics. A GeForce
Optional
dedicated graphics. GeForce chip, some Maxwell chip inside, and the fit and finish looked really great. And he talked about he ran some demos. He ran a video editing session on it, so he showed no drop frames in this instant transition because GPU acceleration. He showed running 3D animation Autodesk or something where he was just manipulating 3D models. So it's you can use this for some 3D modeling and maybe some video editing. So that's a MacBook Pro. Mm-hmm. So if the Surface Pro is kind of their $1,000 MacBook Air competitor, then this is their MacBook Pro competitor. Makes sense. Touchscreen, still works with a pen. Cool. The hinge is weird because the way it folds down, it actually is tapered. Mm-hmm. So the screen doesn't touch the keys. So
That's nice.
That is weird.
You get little key press
You do get key
marks
presses.
on the MacBook.
And people are already on the internet twittering about, you're going to get dust in there.
Yeah.
I like it flush. So they made an interesting design decision. And the way he was holding it, he closed it and he put it under his hand. The hinge is half circle, maybe an inch thick. So curves around.
With triangles cut out.
You can grip it comfortably. It won't poke your hand. It'll be nestled cradled in your hand when you're holding it. Right, so that's why they call it the Surface Book, because you're holding it like a book, like a school book.
Okay.
And the screen size is A4 size paper, so it's like a notepad.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, this is a high-end laptop. It's $1,500.
Starting at
$1,500. Dedicated graphics optional. Looks nice. And $1,500. That's a MacBook Pro. Is that a MacBook Pro 13-inch? Starts at around $1,500.
It starts at $1,399 or $1,379. I think we looked last week. The point is, I looked at this picture and I was like, this is the nicest piece of design I've ever seen on a Windows laptop, far and away.
And clearly, they took. Well, don't Google search it yet. Hold on, Jeremy. Clearly,
like they did a phenomenal.
Clearly, the design team who worked on Surface Pro, like with this like magnetism design, this type of cooling, the fans worked on the Surface Book.
Here's the thing: I don't think the Surface Pro design is like the hinge is really really neat. Mm-hmm. It is not a beautiful piece of technology. Like the way the way you put the bright colored magnetic keyboards on is technically really impressive, and it actually works pretty well on the third generation. But I don't think it's not gorgeous. This thing is gorgeous.
Yeah. It's it's not bright colors. It's Apple gorgeous. We'll call it that.
I mean, it looks like it's a minimalist piece of design done really well in a way that I would not have said Microsoft was capable of a year ago.
So you called up the price and like, okay, it's an expensive laptop. Because $1,500 is an expensive laptop. If you add all the upgrades, if you want the GPU, it's gonna be $2,000. Right? And then he goes, okay, this is great. This is our ultimate laptop. 12 hours of battery life. Intel latest Core i7 processors, whatever. Okay, but I'm going to show you this video again. And he plays the exact same video that you see at the beginning. I like how you're in anticipation for this, because I don't know if you know what's coming.
I have no idea.
He plays the video, and it has the same angles and everything. And the video shows the laptop, and it does that pan away, slow pan away, and then suddenly the laptop starts vibrating, and then the screen detaches.
Dun, dun, dun.
The screen detaches from the keyboard.
What? That's the same thing a Surface Pro does.
No.
But it's a laptop.
But you can use it on your lap. It fixes the whole problem with the Surface Pro. You can't put it on your lap. They say you can, but it doesn't work very well.
So
it's a bad experience.
It actually is.
So it's a more rigid Surface Pro, but more powerful, rigid.
Well, so they put the battery in the GPU and the keyboard. So there's a shitload of battery in the keyboard. There's a little bit of battery in the screen, along with the CPU memory and storage.
You're saying it too quickly. Well, let's explain, Jeremy, really quickly. Look, it's a laptop.
We talked about this all last week, so I hesitate to do it again.
Yep.
But when the screen pops off, there's battery in the screen and battery in the keyboard. The GPU is actually in the keyboard.
And it's... What are you saying? It's a wireless video signal?
No. There's a PCI Express channel between the screen and the
so you're
and the
only
and the
using
bottom.
the GPU.
Yeah.
When you plug it in the laptop form.
See.
Yeah.
I see.
Or you can flip it around and have it be used like a tablet like that.
Yeah.
But it's a super thin, super light, 13-inch x86 full Windows tablet.
If you detach it.
Presumably the battery is going to be kind of shitty in that situation.
So we start thinking about, okay, then what are the caveats? Well, if they wanted to make the screen really light, the tablet part really light, then they couldn't put a lot of battery in there. So it's only like 3 hours of battery life.
That's still, I think that's still totally acceptable. I was expecting like 45 minutes when I saw the way that the way it looked.
So is this the new design that's going to trickle down and become the Surface Pro eventually?
I don't think so.
No?
I think Surface Pro is going to be their own thing, just like the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro have two different designs. I think Surface Pro is going to have its own life and its own user base. I think the Surface Book, if people start, it's expensive. If people start adopting it, I think it'll be its own thing. But they both share this, like the kind of shiny, brushed aluminum, brushed magnesium look.
Design language.
Yeah. I think it remains to be seen. Yep. I think if this sells really well, I think we will see a Surface Book Lite or Surface.
Why not? Why not have multiple? Some people.
why not trickle it down to the $1,000 price point into the Ultrabook range?
Because some people want just the tablet side with 8 hours of battery life.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you what I think. I think no one wants just the tablet side. I think everyone wants a real keyboard. Because I think that having to carry a separate keyboard or use the crappy flap, which is still better than it was before, but not ideal, is going to... I think that's a deal breaker for a lot of people.
iPad Pro is really banking on people just wanting the tablet
I think it's a bad idea on that front too.
Yeah.
But the iPad is at least a more fully fledged tablet platform. The x86 stuff, it's really hard to use traditional desktop apps in the fingers only. It's much better than it was in the past, but it's still not anywhere near as easy to use as say the iPad is. As evidenced by the shoot that we did yesterday when you were trying to use the PDF viewer and on a Surface, and we're constantly struggling with it.
That was a bad app.
Yeah.
So it's their MacBook Pro competitor. with a really interesting design. It's not far from the first convertible, far from the first computer that put all the processing power in the screen part of it. Lenovo's had them for a long time, but this is Microsoft's version of it. And I think the smart thing that they did was split the battery up, top and bottom, focus on the battery, not on the top part, but on the bottom part, and realize that in most use cases, when you carry a computer in the tablet form, you're probably not going to be using it for more than 3 hours, is their bet.
I think that's a fair bet. I mean, I think if you look at how, for example, I use my iPad today, I use it at most for an hour at a time, and then I would be totally fine jacking it back into the socket. Yeah. Or I'm sitting someplace where I have power, right? Yeah, and you can still flip the screen around the other way and hold it with the whole battery on. It's just thicker, and it weighs what, 3.5 pounds?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's the one knock against the whole thing is it's a little bit hefty for that price range in like the thin and light category. Although it does have discrete graphics, which is almost completely unheard of in that kind of weight class and size range.
They wouldn't tell anyone which discrete graphics, which exact NVIDIA chip is inside it. They just said it's a Maxwell class and it's a custom chip.
Would they tell you if you can change keyboard accessories later? So you could buy a discrete GPU.
They will not sell it to you, but they will be compatible.
So you could buy two of these, one discrete and one not, and then switch them later if you wanted.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Kind of. It's
maybe someone will resell theirs. I don't know.
I can't imagine because I bet you can't charge it without the keyboard.
You can charge it. You can charge as a top.
Oh, you can plug a USB-C or something in?
No, it's the same connector.
No, I'm saying, but if you sold your keyboard, and then didn't get another keyboard back,
you can charge it. It's the same connector. The charging connector on the tablet side.
Yeah,
the way it connects, and this is part of this is why they didn't use USB-C.
Yeah,
like this connector, which is different. The connector here,
the connector between the keyboard and the thing,
is the same as the power connector from the keyboard.
Oh, so you just plug it in.
You just plug it in.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm into this. I think it's really cool.
I mean,
I wish it was $300, $200 cheaper.
Think of it this way: the fact that we are talking about a Microsoft product and saying, these are really interesting things, really cool. It's not something we probably would have said 3 years ago, 4 years ago. We definitely didn't say it.
We were unkind to the first three Surfaces in terms of design and appeal.
Yeah, because Windows 8 ARM was shitty.
Yeah, Windows 8 ARM was shitty. The Surface 1 Surface 1 Pro was not great.
Surface 2 Pro wasn't great.
I thought the Surface 2 Pro was pretty good.
It was the same design. It was just a faster processor.
Well, it had the multi-angle hinge, which made a big difference. But it wasn't the Surface 3 all-angle hinge.
Exactly. The 3 was the smart thing.
Yeah.
Mashable had a story about how long this has been in the works for 2 years or so. So they've roadmap pretty far ahead. I think if that's the same thing's going to happen to their phones, that's happened to these laptops, that gets me a little more excited about their phones.
You mean you think that they're going to have the design team that's done the Surface Book?
Oh yeah,
design phones.
I mean,
Surface phone.
Why wasn't this Windows 10 phone called a Surface phone?
Because they are saving that for the good one.
Yeah, duh. Lumia is a Nokia thing, and Nokia is going to be the thing of the past.
Okay. Anything else out of Microsoft?
That was it.
Anything else in New York? Did you see any rats? See any rats eating pizza?
Pizza rats. Oh. I did see a Broadway musical.
I didn't know. Do you know we know the guy who did the Pizza Rat video?
No. Who was it?
Friend of Pat's.
Friend of Pat.
Pat Bear.
Oh.
Yeah.
UCB guy.
Yeah, UCB guy.
Nice.
Apple did a stealth update this week. They didn't have an event or anything.
God, big stealth update.
It was it was huge. They did new iMacs, which are just, it seems like they're just CPU refreshes, right? It's still the 27-inch, still the 21.5-inch, 5K display.
The 5K is a big thing. It's Skylake. There's
the 5K they had before.
Isn't the 4K display new for the lower ends?
Oh, so 4K on the 21.5-inch.
All the 27 inches now are 5K. You cannot buy a 27-inch iMac that's not 5K display.
Oh, I didn't know that they were still selling the old 1080, the 2560 by 1441.
Yep.
Okay, well, that's good.
And then on the 21-inch
it's all
side,
Skylake, right?
All Skylake.
Okay.
21-inch side, you have the option of the low resolution or the 4K.
And is it discrete graphics on the 27-inch, or are they using Iris or something?
That is a really good question. What does it say, Jeremy, on the product page?
Intel Iris across the board.
Intel Iris across the board.
That's not great.
Well, Iris is better on Skylake.
No, wait. If you go way down, if you upgrade,
It's Radeon.
You get the Radeon R9.
R290 or R9?
R9.
Okay. Interesting. So that stuff's good. I mean, Thunderbolt 2 on the devices, so you can get fast external storage on an iMac, which is always good. The big surprise I thought was that they updated the desktop accessories. So the keyboard, the mouse, and the trackpad.
Yeah.
They're calling it the Magic Keyboard now. It's a wedge design, uses the chiclet keys from the good MacBooks, not the bad MacBook 12-inch.
Yep.
The Magic Trackpad 2 adds Force Touch. Is that the right language?
Yeah, not 3D touch, but Force Touch, like on
my MacBook.
Yeah.
MacBook like on the 13-inch MacBook Pro.
What is the difference?
One is it's basically a fake clicky button. That's all it's for.
But that's the haptic feedback.
So it's taptic feedback. Taptic feedback is for notifications.
Well,
I don't fucking know. That's the lesson here.
The watch has Force Touch, right?
And taptic feedback.
Right.
This is hence the confusion.
It's very confusing. I think it might be it's basically the same thing.
They call it Here we go. Force Touch, Multi-Touch, Personal Touch.
Oh, boy.
That's what the headline on the page says. It's terrible. It's a little bit bigger than the Magic Trackpad, the old Magic Trackpad. And it's a wedge design as well. So instead of having like that round thing on the back like the old keyboards had and then empty space, it looks like, my guess is that they're using that extra internal space for the big new thing, which is internal lithium-ion batteries. So
the old ones took double A's.
The old ones took double A's and that round loop on the back.
Right.
You didn't have to change. I mean, I changed them probably 3 or 4 times a year. It seems like on the when I was using an iMac regularly. Now you just plug it into I think a Lightning connector.
Yeah,
that
makes
right?
sense. I don't buy wireless devices for this reason, though. I don't like charging anything.
Well, I mean, the thing is with lithium-ion, like I have a couple of Bluetooth keyboards. I have that Microsoft, the one with the lid, the folding one. I charge that thing maybe twice a year, 3 times a year. I don't use it. Yeah. I use it when I travel a lot, and I don't use it the rest of the time.
Yeah.
It's pretty compelling. They also introduced a Magic Mouse 2. It's also rechargeable, and everything else seems the same.
Now, the Magic Mouse is the one with the touch screen on top, right?
Yeah,
touch surface.
It is a thing that I profoundly dislike because it's not big enough to do gestures on, and if you can't do gestures, then there's no reason to have the touch surface on the top. I'm interested in the trackpad. Like that is a compelling. Like it's one of the problems with using a Mac. If you're using a desktop Mac,
touchscreen.
The gestures are so integral to the way I use a Mac laptop.
Is that right?
It's really hard for me to go back and use a traditional mouse on a Mac.
That's interesting because I think of a trackpad as being a mouse substitute. But if you have a mouse, of course you should use that.
I'm trackpad native on Macs. It's why I buy Mac laptops. Their trackpads are better than. It's my favorite way to interact, and because of the placement of the one thing this doesn't address is that you can't put the trackpad below the keyboard. Like I want to have a desktop setup where the trackpad is exactly the same layout as it is on my MacBook.
Yeah. So
I can just reach down with my thumb below the space bar and move the cursor if I need to.
Interesting.
And you can't do that on this because of the wedges. I mean, it seems, yeah. There you go. You can apply more pressure on the trackpad.
The Retina 21-inch is new, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
21-inch 4K.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 4K.
Which is, the resolution is 4096 by 2304.
4026 by 23. Wow, that's a crazy number of pixels. They're pixel quadrupling. 2304 is going to be 1570 something, 1579.
Do you know that Surface Book what the resolution is?
No.
3000 by 2000.
Jesus.
On a 13-inch display, 14-inch display.
So pixels, basically resolution, people getting crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? The trend, and everyone across the board, Apple and Microsoft are doing, is not be confined to this 800, 600, 2560, 1440. Just go offbeat with the pixel.
Yeah, they're getting crazy with the resolutions.
As long as the aspect ratio is right and the scaling is right,
yeah,
it'll look good.
As long as it's divisible by 4 on both axes.
Don't let the HD standards, don't let cheap monitor panels determine how you make your computers.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's good that the OSs are now independent or can scale independently. Although I find I've scaled up my monitor at home a little bit as I get older and my eyes get shittier.
Scale down?
Yeah, the 2560 by 1600 panel, I do it at 125%, and that looks really fuzzy on some apps that don't use the right renderer and stuff like that. Like Evernote looks like hot garbage. which is unfortunate.
Did you see that Apple reduced the amount of flash in their Fusion drives and the 1 terabyte Fusion drives?
From?
Fusion drives are the hybrid drives that have both SSD and spinning platters.
Yeah. I think they used to be 128 gigs of flash, and now the 1 terabyte has like 32 gigabytes of flash.
Oh, what?
So
Garbage. So how is it even a Fusion drive?
Here's the thing.
Well, technically it still is, but they want you to upgrade to the 2 gigabyte to get the full 128 now.
Or terabyte.
My hunch is that it probably doesn't impact the way most people use the computers, because the way the caching works on the drives is such that it probably doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm sure that and this is a difficult thing to test because you have to have the exact same use case over time.
Yeah, you have to mimic the workload, the behavior on two PCs over a period of a couple of weeks, probably.
Varying behavior.
Yeah.
Everyday use. And I bet the software is better now that it can cache things better.
I mean, the thing
put things in memory also.
That's the thing. If the OS is aware of what is drive time limited and what is other thing limited, and it just puts the drive time limited stuff, 32 gigs is enough to put the OS.
It's actually 24 gigs. I looked it up.
Okay, 24 gigs is enough to put the OS, the stuff that's slow loading on the OS, and the 3 applications you use most, which is probably your web browser and your email client and other, and that's good. I mean, those Fusion drives aren't for people who care about performance, because if you care about performance, you'll pony up for the 512 gig SSD
Hell yeah.
for $300, right? I think that's it for Apple, right? Anything else?
Well, that's it.
Should we talk about electric skateboards and the law?
Dude, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah. So
what's happening?
it's one. It only matters to people who own electric skateboards.
So Jeremy Williams.
2.
Well, there's like
only
a few more of us.
Yeah, a few more of you guys. And 2, only those of you in California. So maybe it does not affect the majority of our
60
listeners.
million people, and 1% of those people maybe.
So, but you guys can skate in the bike lanes now, legally.
Why would you do that?
Well,
You're
no,
such a dick.
As of January 1st, 2016.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. But can you go as fast as a bicycle can go in a bike lane?
Well, that's not the point.
Yes, it is. You're going to obstruct traffic.
We can go 22 miles an hour on boosted boards, first of all.
Does that mean you have to...
We're not just like dilly-dallying.
does that mean you're not allowed to ride on the sidewalk now?
Well, here's the deal. Currently, and I looked this up for obvious reasons, you can only ride skateboards on the sidewalk and only in residential areas. So you can't ride your skateboard on the road ever, and you can't ride your skateboard in industrial zones anywhere.
People flaunt both of those rules all the time in San Francisco.
But I'm saying by the letter,
Yes.
this is the rule. Electric boards were outlawed in the 80s because they were motorized. They had gas-powered
motors, yeah,
and they
a
were
nuisance.
noisy, and they smelled bad.
Yep.
So obviously, you can't ride those anywhere. So the laws about skateboards in general aren't even that friendly. So this is going to improve things for skateboards in general, I think. But for electric skateboards, this is fantastic news.
Are these specific to front and back wheel skateboards, or do they apply to those side-by-side hoverboard things too?
Right.
Don't call it a hoverboard.
That's
We
the
know what you're
brand
talking
name, right?
about. No, it's not.
Oh, I assumed it was.
It's not.
What?
Okay, so there's there are a series of electric skateboard-looking things that you ride, not front and back like you would ride a regular skateboard, but you ride side to side like you're riding a snowboard in a way that you're going to die soon. The wheels are perpendicular.
Yeah.
Your toes point in the same direction the wheels go.
Why are these so popular?
Because they're really easy to ride.
Are they cheap?
They're $600.
They're not really easy to ride. It's because they're cheap and because celebrities are riding them.
Yeah,
That's why
they have good
popular.
marketing.
Yeah.
There's a couple of Chinese manufacturers who seem to be cranking them out, and a lot of people are rebadging them.
They're all over Amazon. If you type in booster
Everywhere. Yeah.
hoverboard.
The problem with them is it's really hard to ride those on the sidewalk, because you basically, if the sidewalk's narrow, you can't pass people because there's no way to get it sideways.
Yeah.
You have to get off of it, pick it up, walk down the street a little bit, then put it back down again. They're bad. Do we determine that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Governor, this is signed into law by Jerry Brown, the governor.
Hero of the people.
This is a good thing.
You know what? They're not bad. There's just no place for them right now. They're used in the wrong places. Public parks.
I see people using them in the airport a lot.
That's illegal. You can't. You're not supposed to use them in the airport.
Really?
I think they're people movers. I mean, that's what they
Yeah.
are. They're like last half mile people movers.
Well, all these things are.
Right, but the skateboard makes more sense to use that to actually transport you from on streets, and these are like sidewalk or parks. These are for like getting around parks,
But they're bad on sidewalks. That's my point. Is like people can't pass. I see them all the time here, and you can't pass. If two of those come at each other, somebody has to step off.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Step off, Norm. I'm coming. I'm not going to stop. I think electric unicycles are the future. That's where my money's at.
Wow.
I don't think that's true, actually. I think they're fun, but they're not good for riding.
2015.
Lightco, the Light 16 camera. This is coming out. This is being there's a launch party
Late
tonight.
next year.
Oh, that's a kind of an early announcement. Is it a light field camera? Ish.
Ish.
What is the Lightco Light 16 camera, Norm?
They're calling it the first multi-aperture computational camera. Now let's break that down.
Okay.
Multi-aperture. How is that possible?
Means that they take a lot of pictures and the different apertures and then jam them all into one photo?
And that's the computational part. So it is 16 different sensors plus lenses in one compact point and shoot body.
So they're all taken at the exact same moment.
10 of them take, depending on how you frame and what your focus is, 10 of them will take at one specific moment, different depths of field, they're different apertures, different. They're all fixed focal length.
Different shutters?
I don't believe. I mean, maybe that could be for cool effects. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities when you're taking about 10 different images being.
But you're getting
combined.
10 slightly different angles, right?
Well, that's why the sensors and optics are fixed on this small point and shoot. They're arranged in a way that it goes through their software. They know exactly where they are, and so when they composite it, you get one nice looking
predictable
image.
but kind of chaotic without the predictability. If it didn't have the predictable nature of the camera,
yes, there would be a huge computational problem.
How does this compare to something like the Lytro?
Well,
is Lytro still around? Also,
yes,
do we know?
I believe Lytro. Lytro is kind of changing their focus. They shifted. They pivoted. I don't think they're going to make consumer cameras for much longer. But this camera, you can change your focus point after the fact because there are multiple apertures and they will focus on different things. It's a massive, I want to say 50 or 70 megapixel image that you get out of this. But even though the sensors are small, the image is big and the depth of field is big because you're compositing. While this camera itself, which is, I want to say $1,700, it's really expensive. And the technology is both unproven and maybe a limited use case. I think it bodes really well. $1,700. It bodes really well for the future of smartphone cameras.
Oh, you think that they can put an array of sensors on the back and apertures and stuff like that, and you get interesting effects as a result?
Well, or just better, high quality DSLR-like photos, DSLR-like photos. Yeah. You take a look at your cell phone right now. The way, if you look at the range of smartphones and cell phones, even the Apple phones have a bump in the back because you need the lens, you need the optical stabilization.
Yeah,
people want thin cell phones. People, Nokia, Microsoft Lumia, and other companies have put bigger sensors and bigger optics. You can't change physics on the back of a cell phone to give it that bulge. Well, you can add computational to the image, add more sensors, more optics, keep it flat, and then maybe get your higher quality photo that way.
Interesting. Hey, Norm, what do you say we take another word from our sponsors?
Another sponsor for this week's episode of the Zillion Test is SoftLayer, an IBM company. SoftLayer delivers cloud built to perform. Your business applications and computational workloads are unique, so you deserve cloud resources that meet your specific needs. SoftLayer is one of the only cloud providers that provisions dedicated servers and virtual servers, otherwise known as a public cloud, from a single seamless platform. All on demand, all connected to the same open API, all connected to a global private network. It's an IBM company, and in fact, IBM uses SoftLayer as its cloud infrastructure foundation for all its IBM cloud products and services. So you can benefit from SoftLayer infrastructure when you use platform or software services for IBM Cloud. All of our listeners have the opportunity to get $500 of cloud infrastructure by visiting softlayer.com/podcast. You could order bare metal servers, virtual server storage, networking, security services from your choice of data centers all around the world. So go to softlayer.com/podcast and get started with $500 off servers, storage, network, and security on the cloud built to perform from SoftLayer.
And we're back. Hey, I saw that there's a red dragon in space.
Is this a Chinese satellite?
It's a space station. They launched on a giant rocket, and then we redirected to go to Mars to save Matt Damon.
Is it like some Dragon Ball Z shit?
Over 9,000?
Over 9,000.
I didn't understand what that was until I got Google Glass. I think we talked about that the other day. Yes, Norm?
The International Space Station.
It's not a real dragon, right?
No. It's the Red Camera Company. Their Dragon 4K camera. One was sent up earlier this year.
Is this the place with John Malkovich and Helen Mirren and Bruce Willis and John?
Nope, that's Red the movie.
Oh.
Yep, nope.
They don't make cameras?
They don't make
Helen
cameras.
Mirren doesn't make cameras?
Nope.
Why the hell not?
I don't know. She likes being in front of the camera.
That's true.
So now they have a 4K camera on the ISS, and the footage from that camera looks ridiculous.
Well, yeah, but it's looked ridiculous for years now, right? I mean, it's just
No,
is this
they've only
new?
had 1080p.
It's in space.
It's in space.
No,
With zero G. Have you seen the video?
yeah, of the gooey.
Yes.
The
The particle. It looks like it's CG.
yeah. It looks
Where
cool.
is this on
Looks
YouTube
cool.
or Vimeo?
YouTube 4K.
What was it, like an Alka-Seltzer that they dropped into some water?
Yeah, and they added food coloring
Yeah,
to
they added
it.
food coloring.
And it's like shooting off little particles
We've
left and
seen
right.
that before.
We've
in
seen
HD.
that.
No,
yes.
it looks great. It looks great.
But to see it in 4K
Yeah.
with that depth of field and
Well-
that clarity, I mean, if Chris Hadfield was still up there, he'd be shooting like crazy videos with this.
Does the 1080p look better as a result of the better sensor? Doesn't not really.
Oh yeah, because the bigger
They're
sensor gives
downscaling more,
bigger
right?
depth of field. So you're going to get the really nice bokeh with the sensor no matter
it does
what.
have a nice bokeh.
And they're like refocusing the entire time. It's very like we're in the space station.
Yeah.
The thing that was really interesting to me, because we did some video with Commander Hadfield when he was on ISS still. He sent us a lot of footage of him eating asparagus. And the cameras, they have a bunch of Canon SLRs up there. And because the cosmic radiation has hit the sensors on the cameras and burnt out pixels and stuck pixels, you could tell when he switched cameras because the pattern of
Dead pixels.
and fired stuck pixels was way different. And they were really
wild.
obvious. It was super cool.
Wow.
Yeah. So this camera is, and any camera in space is not long for the world. Like over time, this 4K camera is just going to degrade. This is the best quality we're going to get from it now.
Yeah.
Does the same thing happen to human brain cells up there?
I don't know. We can ask him on Friday.
You're going to see him on Friday?
Maybe.
You are too.
Cool.
So what should people search? Just search for 4K video ISS?
Yeah.
And it'll pop up?
Totally.
The FAA fined a drone operator 1.9. I think we talked about this last week, Norm. $1.9 million.
Yeah. And they're also
they were flying over New York and Chicago, right?
Yeah. And they're testing technology now. The FAA has worked out a deal with a tech firm to work on technology to detect pilots where they're coming from.
How are they going to do that?
Radio signals.
Are they going to track the drone and see where they land, or are they going to track 2.4 gigahertz radio signals?
Transmissions and points of strength.
How are they going to track everything is 2.4?
Yeah, how are they going to know
radio
it's
signals?
that operator?
I don't know. This is a good question. That's why they've worked it out with a special company to try to experiment.
Can they watch the quad and they can see its movements and then correlate those with specific transmissions?
Maybe.
That would be good.
Yeah. Right.
So the FAA is late on rules, right? They were supposed to send out rules earlier this year.
A proposal
for rules about when it's legal to fly commercially, etc. Mm-hmm. And they haven't done that yet.
Have not.
When are those rules coming?
2017.
Wait, what?
That's when they'll likely be put into effect.
Next year is 2016.
Yep.
And then the year after, so you're saying not next year, they're going to be 2 years late.
Well, they're going to have a proposal, hopefully sometime soon, but the proposal is just a proposal. They won't be actually in effect until 2017.
Great googly moogly. That's bananas.
What about the licensing? Is
That's
that
part of the
same
proposal,
thing?
right?
Yeah.
So we could be basically, they've dicked around for long enough now that we could end up with President Trump being the one whose administration makes these rules instead of.
And he doesn't want people looking at his
Thanks,
head
Obama.
from the top of, from the skies.
No, nobody wants to see that. Flappy hair. Oh, good grief. I was surprised that with NYCC, New York Comic Con this weekend, that you didn't just stay through after the Surface
Thought about
event
it.
and go to Comic Con.
Thought about it. It's too much to do.
Okay.
I was sad to have missed it.
It
was
looked like
a
a
good
good
one.
cosplay year. Yeah.
It's a good one for everything. They showed a trailer for Daredevil Season 2, which is now online. They showed some other stuff. And in terms of awesome projects in cosplay, Thomas D. Petrillo brought a 10-foot tall Hulkbuster costume that took him 1,600 hours to build.
16 hours?
1,600 hours.
That's a lot of 100 hours.
1,600 hours to build. And he wore and walked through New York Comic Con. Weighs 100 pounds, and it takes half an hour just to put on.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is bananas. So that's... How does this fit on the scale of like the wired robot that we saw a few years ago at Comic Con? It's smaller than that, right?
Yeah, 10 feet is... That was way more than 10 feet.
It was probably 4...
But he was...
Probably wasn't that much more than 10 feet because he was probably standing on 4 or 5 foot stilts and then it stuck up over his head.
Right, but he was wearing this like the armor is on stilts. So he was wearing this one.
Just like Robert Downey Jr. did in the movie.
And so the helmet could come off and he could be exposed and show his head. Yeah. Ridiculous. Awesome.
Wow. Dell is buying EMC for 67 billion with a B.
I only wanted to mention it because I don't think anyone knows what EMC
Yeah, I
does.
wondered what EMC was. Isn't this the company from RoboCop that turned Murphy into a robot cop?
I believe that is OCP.
What's the DeLorean? What's DeLorean company?
That's
DMC.
Yeah, that's DMC.
Right.
What about the channel that had Mad Men and Breaking Bad on?
AMC.
Okay.
What about Einstein's most famous equation?
You mean E equals MC squared?
That's right. We're getting there, almost close.
That's very close.
Wow.
Yeah, this is just EMC.
What about the company that made the digital company that made electronics and was a corporation?
JVC?
No, I think DEC is what I was going for there. What the hell is EMC?
They're a cloud storage company.
That's it?
That's it.
How much storage do they have? Are they like
A
box
lot.
box or
Cloud storage
Dropbox?
services for business.
Why did they buy this company?
Because Dell wants to be in the Amazon
In the AWS
business.
67 billion.
It's the biggest tech acquisition ever.
$67 billion is a fairly that's 67 Instagrams.
Is it the largest tech acquisition?
Largest tech acquisition ever by Dell, a company which just I think had to borrow several billion to stay to
Solvent.
Yeah, solvent.
Did they have to borrow several billion to spend 67? Is this a stock trade or something?
No, I think they're going to borrow $40 billion to make this buy.
Well, that's a great idea. Didn't Michael Dell just make Dell not public a few years ago?
Yeah, and he borrowed a ton of money to do that.
Wow. The interesting thing about the Surface Book, the thought that I had when I saw that was, wow, this is something that none of the Microsoft OEMs could have ever made.
And yet they're going to try to, do versions of. I mean, that same week, HP announced a Surface clone,
A Surface 4 clone?
Surface 3 clone,
A tablet with a stick-on keyboard.
with a hinge. Their hinge isn't solid. Their hinge is actually just the hinge on the side. So you have to use that mass.
Oh, so it's just like a loop.
Yes. Dell has one. And I think, Satya Nadella would say rising tide raises all boats or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's not unheard of, right?
Yeah.
Microsoft makes operating systems and people are making hardware.
My prediction is that Microsoft's only doing it now to appease partners and get people used to Windows. They want to be in the Apple business.
Microsoft wants
to be in the Apple business.
I think the partners just want to be in business.
Yes, partners just want to be in business. So partners aren't going to. There's no place to go.
Yeah.
For the partners, people are still using Windows 10. They're still got to sell hardware. They still make hardware.
It's not like they're
not going to stop.
Yeah, release a bunch of Chromebooks.
Yeah, exactly. So they'll still keep on doing it, and Microsoft will just pay lots of money to R&D and make hopefully really good products, and then sell them for a lot of money and be in the Apple business.
Okay. Good luck. Good luck, everyone. Did you know that disclaimer that's at the end of every baseball game? Are you watching baseball right now, Norm? I know the Giants are out.
Yeah,
but it's playoffs.
There's
Stuff's
Some
happening.
controversy. Slides.
Yeah. Somebody broke a leg.
Yes,
I got that much. It was really, really, really sucky.
Sorry, Mets.
So the thing that comes at the end that says any rebroadcast, retransmission, or account of this game without the express written consent of Major League Baseball is prohibited. So Does that apply to GIFs as well?
Yes.
So if you make a GIF of, say, somebody's leg getting broken during a baseball game, and then you post that to Twitter, is that a copyright violation that makes you grounds for DMCA type takedown?
Now it is. And you get your account banned. Sorry,
That's what happens
SB
on
Nation.
Twitter, right?
I'm sorry.
Wow, SB Nation's account got taken down?
SB Nation and I want to say
ESPN
Deadspin?
or something? ESPN probably has rights, right?
Two big ones got taken down. Because
SB Nation's back.
For animated GIFs.
yes.
No kidding.
Wait, they only have 210,000 followers, though, so I bet it's not been back for long. Oh, no, joined in October 2008. They must have taken it down and then brought it back. And what was the other one? Deadspin?
I want to say Deadspin.
Also back. They have 887,000 followers and joined in February of 2008.
MLB has a reputation for not being someone to mess with.
Don't mess with professional sports, man. They got lawyers. It's like Disney. Nobody wants to fuck with Disney. That's interesting. I bet that if you are a small guy who tweets sports GIFs, you're probably okay, you think? Or you think it's just because SB Nation was using that to drive traffic to their site, to their stories about... I mean, to me, that broadcast, that disclaimer says, hey, you can't write stories about baseball games without express written permission of the Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah, they own stuff.
I'd say that's unconstitutional.
Well, no, the fair use stuff isn't constitutional at all. It's all part of Title 11 or something. It's one of the U.S. legal code. Fair use, copyright wasn't a concept in constitutionally.
Free speech is. You could say whatever you want.
Free speech is property rights, and free speech come into conflict all the time, and free speech always loses that one. That's interesting. So the accounts were suspended. Now they seem to be back. I don't know what's going to happen with that. It seems like the kind of thing that I would have been really enraged about when I was 25.
I think that we're eventually moving. I mean, it's also like Facebook is cracking down on people sharing stuff that's not their copyrighted material and making money off of it.
You mean like people who steal jokes?
And images and video. And over time, I think we're moving to places that want to monetize content, want to legitimize their platforms, and they'll discourage just rampant sharing of copyrighted content.
I mean, this is the same thing that happened with YouTube in the early days of YouTube when they realized that they had to get a copyright solution or else they were going to get sued out of existence. So I assume that this is coming to Twitter because the lawyers kind of perked up and were like, hey, maybe there's money to be made here. We can get some licensing deals going for Twitter.
Yep.
Our friend Corey Jones, who's the editor of Playboy.com, used to work at one of our sister sites at Whale Rock, went to Hugh Hefner's house, allegedly, a few weeks ago, the Playboy Mansion, and said, Hugh, I've got an idea.
It's going to revolutionize Playboy.
We're going to change Playboy for the good forever. No more full nudity in the magazine.
Now, I know from reading these news stories that Playboy.com removed nudity months ago.
Yeah.
A year ago almost, I think now.
As a test.
And their readership skyrocketed.
It turns out you don't need to go to Playboy.com to find naked people on the internet.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but more importantly, they improved their business.
Yes.
Yep.
But why is that?
Because when you have naked ladies on your website, then you can't read those websites at work. Because of content filtering, among other things. Also, a lot of people just won't go.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting in the living room reading the internet and I see a link to Playboy.com,
you won't click it.
If my daughter's walking around the living room, I'm probably going to hesitate to click that.
Yep.
I mean, that's not me personally. I whatever. Just in general, people are skittish about nudity websites.
Yeah.
So they took the naked ladies off of Playboy.com, put them back in some other naked lady specific Playboy domain.
Binder.
Yeah, is that what it's called?
No.
Oh, the binder full of women. Is that what that one? That was good, Norm. And the traffic to the website grew a lot. They started, they've obviously changed the editorial direction and made it about the articles not being funny. And the site's done well. So Corey went to Hugh and said, hey, I think we should do the same thing for the magazine that you've been making for 55 years now. Something like that, 50, 60 years. I think they're still going to have probably topless ladies.
No. I think that they'll be fully clothed, but they will be sultry.
So like a GQ or an Esquire type situation.
Wow.
I thought that they were topless.
Well, from what I read,
This is important. These are important distinctions.
it is. I would not. You're right, because they have said full nudity, and maybe there's a distinction between those two. But I believe that they will not be topless. That seems like that would be a bigger deal.
I mean, for newsstand, it's still the case that those magazines have to be put in the corner. And I think for their distribution and awareness, to have that front and center next to a GQ.
I mean, it means you're out of the hustler section with the black plastic bags around you, and you're down in just the men's section,
right,
where you're much more likely to move magazines.
Exactly.
And their circulation has dropped a ton over the years, from 4 million, I think, was the all-time high, to like 5.6 million in 1975 to about 800,000 now.
They're just saying it will still, however, include women in provocative poses, but no nudity.
That means side boob.
It could mean side boob.
It could be in side boob.
There's a fine line between topless and side boob.
Under
PG-13.
And the transparency of clothing may be varied, opaqueness.
They expect it to be like the racier sections of Instagram. A little more accessible, a little more intimate. They don't know if there's still going to be a centerfold.
Cultural shift.
And
big deal.
Yep.
They're calling it PG-13.
Good job, Corey.
There's topless in PG-13.
I don't know about that.
A hint of nipple, I think, is what you get in PG-13.
Are you kidding me? Titanic was PG-13.
No, Titanic was R.
No. No.
Wasn't it?
No.
I'm looking right. Oh, PG-13 for disaster-rated peril, violence, nudity, sensuality, and brief language.
Wow.
I think that the amount of nudity that's allowed in PG-13 changes over time.
Yep.
I think that
was almost 20 years ago.
I know. I'm just saying, as our puritanical mores ebb and wane, we see more and less nudity in a PG-13. Because I know when PG-13 started, you occasionally...
Jeremy's looking at naked people.
I'm looking at PG-13 stuff here.
Did you search for PG-13
Search
boobs?
for Titanic.
Titanic nudity.
Oh, paint me like one of your French girls.
Oh, boy.
Titanic went from rated R to PG-13. This is one of the things. That's probably why it was so massively successful.
Yes.
There were boobs and it was PG-13.
Yep.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's Playboy. That's Playboy. So they're betting on.
There's an article on IGN in their movie section that literally says, "Oh no, wait, never mind. This is the forum." They said it would never get less than an R now because there is full frontal.
There's no full frontal.
No, it's not. It's top, waist up.
Artfully done.
It is tasteful. Okay. I feel like we've covered this topic extensively. Let's talk about something that's really dumb. Did you guys see the laser razor Kickstarter?
No. The Skark laser razor. You didn't see this? This is kind of a big deal for Kickstarter watchers. This is a product that looked very, very shady.
Magical.
And yet it earned $4 million on Kickstarter.
Almost really fast.
Yes.
So here's the thing. People
what's the product?
It is a razor for shaving your face that purports to use lasers instead of metal blades to cut the hair from your face. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I don't like shaving. I have sensitive skin. That's why I have a beard.
They had a nice Kickstarter video.
It was fine. It was a good Kickstarter video. They promised no more razor burn. They promised a shave that was as fast as using regular soap, but you wouldn't need soap. You could use it in the shower.
Yes.
Shaving cream.
Shaving cream.
So it was a wonderful pitch. Who wouldn't want this? Who shaves?
And so it raised $4 million.
Yet,
really fast.
The Kickstarter video never demonstrated the actual thing being used. And then, like a week into the Kickstarter, after they'd already raised millions, they released a video that demonstrated their prototype. And it could cut like an arm hair, but it took a couple seconds for it to even cut the single hair off the guy's arm. And the
arm hair is thinner than beard hair generally, too.
Yeah. And it's like, and then nobody asked for their money back. It kept raising more money. And it got up to $4 million. And Kickstarter finally stepped in and said, you're out. And they used the excuse that they didn't have a functioning prototype, which is one of their requirements for all hardware Kickstarters.
That started after a rash of kind of sketchy 3D rendered prototype Kickstarters like 2 years ago.
Right.
Yeah. So now it's on Indiegogo, and they've raised a shitload of money again.
Yeah. Are you serious?
No, dead serious.
Yeah, but under Indiegogo's, you keep it even if it doesn't get funded rules.
So how much money has it raised?
Last I checked, it was
I'm looking right now.
tens of thousands of dollars.
The far cry from 4.5 million.
It is a far cry, but they had just moved there.
$252,000.
What?
One day. It's 1 day old. There's 11 days left. Their goal was $160,000,
Oh my God, so much snake oil.
and it's
Let's just start some snake oil on
It's
Kickstarter.
totally snake
Okay,
oil.
you want to do snake oil Kickstarter? Call it snake oil.
This struck me.
This was featured on fucking They got crazy press.
You know the story about L. Ron Hubbard starting Scientology based on a bet. That's the rumor.
Jeremy Williams, ladies and gentlemen.
What?
Jeremy Williams, Tested.com,
This is a
third seat guest.
well documented myth.
Not an official statement by Tested.com.
That this is what happened. This sounds to me like somebody said, anyone can do a $4 million Kickstarter if they have a good pitch video
No.
and a strong enough idea. That's
What are
exactly
their
what happened
risks? What do they list as their potential risks?
here. I don't know. The Kickstarter page is still up. You can't delete your Kickstarter
It doesn't
page.
look like it's a laser, is the thing. It looks like it's just a really thin line that gets hot.
Their whole pitch was they've discovered a new kind of razor.
Intense pulse laser,
that
yes.
cuts through any color hair. I thought it was
This
fascinating.
demo video is a little bit better than I was expecting from your description.
No,
But it is-
it's not bad. That's what I'm saying. I mean, they did raise $4 million.
And now 250,000.
Yeah. They even have, a scientist vouching for them.
Oh my.
I'm a scientist.
It's really, really scary. And I think Kickstarter did the right thing for obvious
Yeah.
reasons.
If they can't show something working,
Yeah.
kill it.
Yep. It would have damaged their reputation.
Norman Chan. I mean, frankly, that's the thing I like about Kickstarter versus Indiegogo is that even though they let anybody post anything, at some point a human being looks at it and pulls the plug if it looks like too shady.
Yeah.
If it looks like not a good risk. Mm-hmm. Or at least a well-intentioned risk, maybe. I don't know. I think it's time for the virtual reality minute. Do you?
Did. Is that me saying woohoo, or is that you?
I think that's Norm.
Is that you saying
It sounds like Norm.
Yeah, all right.
Can you say woohoo really slowly, Norm?
Woohoo.
People used to get us confused on the PC Gamer podcast.
It is true. As a former listener of the PC Gamer podcast, it was frequently frustrating because I would come in and be like, Norm, what the fuck were you saying? What? And he's like, that wasn't me, dude.
No,
that was Jeremy.
that dude in Chicago.
Yeah. Oculus this week gave people a video glimpse, a couple of video glimpses actually, of what it's like to use their toy box demo. Now, this is the thing that Norm and I saw at E3 earlier this year that kind of opened, like the Vive demos that we saw at GC were amazing. This was a whole other level above it because it was the first time we'd been in a virtual reality environment with another person.
This is their big Oculus Touch demo.
This is their Oculus. It's basically their Oculus Touch test environment. They also had the ability to put two people in and kind of buried the lead because the big deal about the Oculus Touch environment, while the touch controls and the hand controls were really useful, the big deal to me was that you had two people in there.
Social.
Yes, it was social. In a very real, meaningful way with the most minimal kind of interactivity that you can have. All you see is a wireframe head and a couple of wireframe hands, and you can point, you can thumbs up, and you can make finger guns.
They only show what's actually tracked, which is proving to be a smart move.
That's important, it turns out. And then there's a bunch of physics objects and little toys that you can kind of play with and interact with, but it is very much a demo. So it's pretty good.
I liked it because I hadn't seen any of this stuff
Yeah.
before. It looked like the tracking was strong enough that they could bounce a ping pong ball and a virtual paddle,
Yep.
which
You can do that.
that sounds fun. I mean, I wanted to play ping pong as soon as I saw VR.
I don't think you can
So-
play ping pong.
You see, here's the problem with ping pong. That this specific example,
Hit me.
which is ergonomics of the touch controller versus the Vive controller.
The way you hold it.
The way you hold it.
Yeah.
Not at all like the way you would hold a ping pong paddle. And I know people hold ping pong paddles different ways.
Sure.
Either of those ways.
Well, how do you hold a ping pong ball? You hold it like
either hold it like this.
and which end is the paddle's low? Okay,
Paddle's that.
That's the Chinese
that is
way.
not at all the way.
Or
I
you hold it
ping
like
pong.
that.
Yeah, that's
and
the
that. Neither of those.
You could do
is
that
Oculus.
with the Oculus.
No,
Your
no.
angle's gonna be wrong.
You're not
right?
holding a stick. The problem is that you're holding. You're holding.
Yeah,
you're holding,
yeah.
you're
The other
holding
thing
the
is you need
gamepad.
tactile feedback on the ball
Yes.
hitting the
And then the
paddle.
other
It's a
problem
big
is
deal.
that you don't get the same type of immediate tactile
Does
feedback.
touch not have any?
It does have
tactile?
rumble, but it's not going to give you the
Fine.
delicacy that you need.
Yeah.
and
fine.
directional.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So
Somebody will do it. I'll
the
still be happy.
physics are good enough. it's not nearly. I mean, a game like Job Simulator, when you're flying the paper airplane, airplanes are erratic enough in real life that you can accept the good enough physics.
Right. Well, and their physics is intentionally janky enough that you kind of don't care.
But with the ping pong ball experience, you want really precise physics. And I know Toy Box, you can change the physical properties of the world with gravity and size, but it's good enough for like one or two things, but it doesn't really give you that awesome sense of presence. Not as much as to like the balloon sensation.
Well, look, I mean,
in Vive,
Wii Tennis wasn't exactly a simulation, but people enjoyed it. I think if you could do a similar kind of stripped down arcadey ping pong game.
Yeah, totally. I still had more fun with the balloons, blowing up the balloons in Vive and just knocking them around. I mean, just the simplicity of that.
Yeah.
It was.
I liked handing things to people was fun in the toy box. Like taking something and passing it to the person across from you. Yeah. They do a lot of scaling tricks. Like I don't know if they show this in the video, but they make you small or make you big, and your voice changes, and the other person's voice changes, and they modulate that on the fly.
Oh, that's cool.
You could drive like a little RC car, stuff like that. Like it was neat. It was, but the killer thing to me was that you were literally in a space where the other person was tracked in 3D and their audio was tracked in 3D.
And they could potentially be in two different cities, right? In real life.
I mean, they were in different rooms in the demos we saw, but
whatever.
Potentially two different cities. Yes.
The other cool thing is that was another demo where you had like a target shooting game. And a multiplayer target shooting experience where someone throws a boomerang and you both try to shoot it, or you both are trying to shoot the same thing. Incredibly fun.
Yeah. Stuff that would be impossible in the real world.
I don't think they made enough of the hand gestures, because they do show that at one point in the video, but that's the one thing that Oculus is doing that the Vive doesn't do.
Presumably, yeah.
They're on-off hand gestures, finger up or down.
But I think that's enough. I mean, the thing that I saw
it's enough.
Is that any kind of hand gestures, the ability to point at things is the thing that you need, right? That's the big deal.
Yeah. Like you can do that in Portal, but it's kind of complicated. Like not in VR. I mean, in the actual game.
Yeah.
If you're playing in co-op, you can focus on something and do it. Point at it.
Or like in Battlefield, where you hit Q to highlight something that you're looking at, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
It was. I'm glad that they put that video out. I thought that was a good. It was good to share that, and I thought they did from what I saw of it, I thought they did a good job conveying what that experience is like, without it being hyperbolic or weird. Like people, the thing that's interesting to me is people are starting, like between that and the Glenn Keane video from a few weeks ago and the Unreal Engine video that came out earlier this week, the Power Presence, I think is what it's called, something like that. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of good 2D last media demonstrations of why VR is exciting that don't end up with people sounding crazy talking about like losing your limbic system to the VR overlords or whatever.
Yeah,
it's good.
Have you watched the PlayStation VR ad yet?
No.
I talked about that 2 weeks ago. It's worth seeing because what they do is they wireframe out the goggles so you can still see the people's eyes. Which is important in like creating a sense of connection in what they're doing, but they show multiple people doing things together, and it's well done.
The thing that they're doing that's neat is the one person in the goggles, and then asymmetric experiences for people watching the TV. I think that's really cool.
Absolutely.
Ready Player One news.
Yeah, Spielberg talked about.
I love this goes in the VR minute.
He's going to hopefully cast it by early next year.
It's not due out until Christmas 2017.
That's right, but they want to start filming summer of 2016, presumably finish before end of 2016 and have production. Like he's just going from project to project. Casting is super important for this one, but he says also the references, the movie's all about the love of the 80s and also a cautionary tale for a near future, 5 years from now. No Spielberg references.
I don't know.
It's too meta.
He hinted at that. He didn't say definitely no Spielberg references. Somebody asked him, so what's it like making a movie that's so influenced by your films and has so many references to your films? And he said, it's a little Twilight Zone, but maybe the best solution is not to include my films as references. He didn't say that it certainly wouldn't be there. In any case, you read the book more recently than me, but I don't remember any Spielberg reference films being integral to the plot. Like
what people speculated on is it's not just the films he directed, but also the ones he had a direct hand in produce. For example, Back to the Future and DeLorean being a car present in that world.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a DeLorean in there. I think that's not going to be. There's no question.
I don't think that's controversial.
I think that when we're talking about E.T. or Jaws, or even something like Indiana Jones. Mm-hmm. Is Indiana Jones in the movie?
I mean, not in any real sense.
Way. No. Yeah, I think you can get by without
the movies
direct Spielberg
The movies
references.
that they really, really get into aren't Spielberg films. And it's mostly a video game history that's really, really integral.
Yeah.
I would say.
Anything else in the VR minute?
Can we talk about chunks?
Yeah.
What's Chunks?
Chunks is something we saw last week when we were at Valve.
Well, can we talk about it being? Isn't it public, kind of part of the dev community now?
It's out to. So Valve has a way that if you're building VR stuff for Vive, you can share your software with other Vive developers to get feedback and stuff like that, which is really important when we're building stuff that's new that nobody's ever done before. So one of the things that they released recently, a lot of the stuff that's there are things from trade show demos. So, for example, the job simulator build from GDC that has the kitchen stuff, the short order chef stuff, the Sky World, Quar VR, which is a kind of RTS thing, Tilt Brush, the Aperture robot repair, the thing that they showed at the International, the secret shop from Dota. Those are all there. And if you have a Vive dev kit, and you're a Steam developer, you can download those and noodle around with them at home just to see how different people have solved different problems in VR.
So we do have, it's no secret, we went to Valve to check out some demos.
There's going to be a video up soon, right?
And there will be a video up, not relatively soon, it'll probably be in a week or so. But one of the demos that I wanted to talk about was Chunks,
actually.
Which is a Minecraft-like demo. And so how do you do a Minecraft world simulation, world building in VR? Now, this is not how it may eventually be done, but it's an experiment in it. But the experiment was world scaling. It was teleportation plus scaling. So using the Vive controllers, you could press a button, which will give you a whole selection of different Vive wands for you to choose from. And one of them would be the teleport, at which point you have like a laser pointer. You point to the world, anywhere you point to.
Yeah.
Press a button, you're immediately there.
So not to nodes, it's anywhere.
Anywhere, and you're facing that direction, immediately teleportation. And then in addition to that, another wand would let you scale. So you not only teleport, but then you also...
It's the same one.
Oh, maybe it's the same one. You teleport and then you move
Basically, they're using the pad as a dial.
Yeah.
So you move your thumb around the outside edge of it.
And it'll give you a number.
Yeah.
And it'll say 100%, 200%, up to however many 100%. And then you'll be teleported there, but then at that percentage.
It's worth mentioning that this was literally described by the developer as a very early proof of concept. Basically, they wanted to build something that they could noodle around with a bunch of different ways to interact with VR.
Yeah. It's an experiment.
It's an experiment.
How do you do world scale locomotion in a room scale with room scale hardware?
Yeah.
So there are reference points in their simulation, so you know where like the boundaries of your rooms are, where the Vive.
You see the blue lights that pop up in everything, the blue grid.
Yeah, but they also had
that's in a lot of stuff
too.
The lighthouse sensors.
The lighthouse sensors are kind of represented there, and you could build. You could build their version of Minecraft. You could build a roller coaster, and then you could point at the roller coaster and say, "Teleport me into that seat," and you can ride the roller coaster. And you get really dizzy if you wanted to.
Were you just scaling yourself, or were you scaling the things you were drawing?
Well, so you can scale. You're always laying one block at a time. You can lay blocks in massive quantities. So you can make a 3-dimensional volumetric shape, and it'll just fill that with the blocks that you've selected, and then you can carve out from there.
Oh, neat.
You can delete in the same way. It's the interesting thing to me about this is, to me, Minecraft has always been a one block at a time building experience, right? So you lay one, you collect inventory, or if you're in just building mode, then you have all the stuff that you need all the time, and you literally just lay that out, and then kind of it's a slow, methodical process. This let you build much, much faster, because if you vary your scale, you get big, then you can draw a huge amount of bricks at one time and then kind of chisel out the ones that you want to make the shape that you want.
Yeah.
They also included demolition tools, so you could place one piece of dynamite at a time, or you could just get a cannon that fired dynamite. As long as you pulled the trigger, it just blasted it out like a machine gun, and thus drill holes all the way to the bottom of the world and make big giant tunnels that go underneath the world. And then drive your roller coaster through those tunnels, which was super cool.
So it's sort of like the paintbrush apps, but more of like in an environment that's interactive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just like it really is like a medium where you're carving in, you can scale the object in medium, big or small, but instead of scaling just whatever you're building, you're scaling you, or if you another way to think about it, you're scaling the world. And one takeaway though is that even though that works, it really took away the sense of you being in that world.
It did.
And walking
because you were scaling yourself.
Because you're scaling yourself.
Huh.
And you feel more like you're floating.
Was there any sense of motion sickness or nausea associated with the scaling?
No, not at all. But again, it never felt like, oh no, I'm a giant.
Yeah.
Because you don't see your body. It's felt like I'm just now positioned high up here, and the thing I'm creating is bigger, but I'm not walking around it anymore. You lose a lot of that room scale walking from corner to corner presence.
Yeah.
They need to figure it out.
And it's the thing about a game like that where you can adjust your orientation inside the world. It's the first thing that I've lost my idea of where I am in the real, like where I'm facing in the real world.
Oh, neat.
Which is interesting.
What I think will be the best type of world scale experiences will be teleportation between nodes, but each node will be a room scale environment.
I think
does that make sense?
No.
Like if the landscape is 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer environment,
Yep.
I think it should be composed of a bunch of 10 foot by 10 foot walkable spaces.
Oh.
Yeah, but you can't do that because some people are going to have 3 foot by 3 foot walkable
Scalable,
spaces.
so scalable maybe. But so
Yeah,
but
I
that
see
you
what you mean.
then teleport between a selection of those, and
Yeah.
that's your world map, and that's your your room map, but it's all one big shared space.
I'm worried it's going to be the kind of thing where, when you move your mouse to the right edge of the trackpad and you still need to move the mouse further, you have to lift the mouse up and move it over to the left and roll again. I'm worried it's going to be like that, but humans walking around in a room where you have to teleport yourself back over to the other side of the room in order to walk further.
I don't think that anybody has found the right solution.
That's why I think it's going to be node based.
Yeah.
That's why you give
But
enough
it
distance.
still requires you to recenter yourself in the center of your room before you teleport.
Well, when you
No.
teleport, I think you're just going to be oriented to where you were.
Yeah.
The left side,
in
the
that
next
same
node.
node.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's going to be the early winner solution. I mean, I think the free teleportation is really interesting, but like Jeremy said, the potential for the edge of the trackpad problem is real. However, there's no cost. It's not like a video game where there's a cost on the teleportation. So it's not like you can't just re-teleport again. It's instant, or else you make people sick. So there's not a downside to just teleporting like crazy. And once you get used to it, especially with chunks, the other interesting thing about chunks is they use 2 controllers. Each one is exactly the same as the other, but you can put one tool on one hand and one tool on the other. So unlike a Minecraft context where you're always going back to the menu bar, hitting hotkeys to switch between your tools, with this you can keep teleport on your left hand and poop blocks on the right hand and just be teleporting like crazy all around it. And once you get adept at it, you can move very quickly. I think that there are probably a bunch of good solutions for movement that people haven't figured out yet, and that's one of the things that's really interesting to me about VR development over the next, let's say, 12 to 24 months, because people, it's going to be like 3D. It's going to be like cameras and 3D platformers, or controls for first-person shooters on gamepads. Once Halo figured out gamepad control for first-person shooters, or time splitters, depending on who you ask. And then once Call of Duty figured out the new modern way to do first-person shooter controls on a gamepad, everybody else just knocked them off, right? Those things spread virally. And if it's a minor change, you don't have to build your whole game around it. I think we'll see that the second and third and fourth generations of VR games have much, much, much more refined movement controls than the stuff that comes out with the headsets next spring.
Yeah. Yeah, a thought that occurred to me while you were saying that is mouse and keyboard is still preferable to anyone who's serious about shooters, and people use the gamepad out of necessity.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you something. The people who came up playing Halo and Call of Duty on the console will vociferously disagree with you.
Hey, they might prefer the gamepad, but they will never beat someone who is equally proficient but playing on mouse and keyboard.
I think when you put them up against each other,
no,
this is a pointless argument.
Positional tracking with the mouse is always going to be better than accelerated analog sticks.
As an old guy, I agree with you both.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you that there are going to be people screaming at you in the comments right now. And I think that when the games are built to work with gamepad or mouse and keyboard, you can play with a gamepad and not be at a deficiency.
I'm just saying I want the mouse and keyboard equivalent for whatever VR space is, and it will be because
you have that. You have one-to-one tracking on all the hand controllers.
That's what I'm saying is all the hand controllers are analogs, movement, and I like this.
The thing that's interesting to me about this whole thing is that because the hand controllers are the default control for the Vive, it is interesting to me in a software sense as a person who wants to play VR games in a way that I'm kind of waiting and seeing what Oculus comes out with the touch in the summer, or whenever they after the headsets are out.
Totally.
Like I'm increasingly of the opinion that's probably a mistake.
Oh well, we'll see.
We'll see. Steve Jobs movie.
Did anyone watch it?
Oh,
No.
I mean, I can't wait to watch it, but I have not seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. I was hoping one of us would watch it.
Well, that was a cool segment.
Witta saw it.
Did he like it?
Yeah, he did. He thought. Is it Fassbender?
You want to go Fassbender?
Yeah.
He thought he was amazing.
Fassbender's always good.
That's surprising that Witta liked it. A lot of people said that it does not portray a great Steve Jobs.
Is that right? Well,
Yeah.
Is this based on the Isaacson book, or is this something else?
Well, supposedly. I mean,
so those
they're
people
not actually,
didn't like the Isaacson book either.
They're not scenes from the Isaacson
Yeah.
book. It's like how Sorkin read the Isaacson book and then said, if I could do if no one could tell me what to do, what I would do is I would do 3 events. And I would do Steve Jobs preparing for 3 events, and that would be the whole book.
What are the 3 events? We've talked about this before, but I'm asking again.
It's like
Apple II, iPhone, and iPad.
It's like his return. So it was the original. It was the iMac.
Okay.
And then it wasn't the iPhone. I don't know. It was then the iPod.
Okay.
I think, and then maybe something else. In any case, 3 events. One of them is not the iPhone. I don't think. But yeah, Witta liked it. I can't wait to see it. And Woz liked it. Woz said it was like seeing Steve Jobs again.
I wonder what Woz thought about Seth Rogen's performance.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
Seth Rogen played Woz, right?
Yeah, and in all the trailers, it just sounds like Seth Rogen.
Actually, I was surprised because he adopts kind of a geekish, nerdy effect, and he stutters a little bit. Have you seen the longer release scene where Woz confronts him about what do you do? It's worth watching on YouTube because he does seem more like Woz in that clip than the trailers.
I think we should take a brief moment and then talk about what we have been testing. My favorite character in the second Wizard of Oz movie was Osmo, the Great and Powerful. Osmo.
Oh, yes.
You remember Osmo?
No, but
No.
Neither do I.
No.
What's the Osmo, Norm?
DJI has released or has announced a handheld stabilized gimbal camera, not a quadcopter, but what it essentially is the camera and stabilization system from the DJI Inspire 1 put on a handle.
It's the thing we tested at CES this year.
Yep.
But
And we
productized in real.
Yes, and we took it to Seattle, walked around a little bit with it, shot some video, shoots your 4K 30 video, weird 2.7, 2560 by 1440 video as well, and a 1080 high speed. But it's a neat 3-axis stabilization system. I think they're smart to put the technologies they've invested in their quadcopters and make different types of consumer products. It's expensive.
When you tried like the Phantom, the Inspire camera on its own little gimbal, right at a trade show, that was amazing, and we were begging them to say just release that as a camera, right? Wasn't that the same kind of thing?
This is the exact same thing.
Yeah,
this is that product.
That's great.
Except it's $650, which is a little expensive. I think it's going to be for people who already own the Inspire 1, because if you paid $2,900 for a quadcopter that you fly, I don't know, once a week or something, then maybe you can also make use of a handle that you can put the camera on and film home movies.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the? This seems like it's for people who kind of want a Steadicam but don't want to learn how to use a Steadicam, and I mean the cameras for the Inspire are really good these days, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of neat. It has like a selfie mode, right? Where you like double click a button and the camera
3 taps a button, it comes back at you. So it's fully automated.
That's
you can
neat.
attach a microphone to it. You can walk through. I mean, it technically is a selfie.
You can't monitor the audio, right?
You cannot monitor the audio.
And you got called out for using a selfie stick in the EMP.
It was technically it's a selfie stick. It's a camera mounted on a stick. The stick isn't very long. It's just a handle.
Yeah.
But it is a camera on a handle device.
So the backlash against selfie sticks that we helped perpetuate has now bitten us in the ass.
Well, it's fair because even if you're holding this camera out in front of you and it's not a giant stick, you're still holding it out in front of you. Your arm can still be an obstacle.
That's true.
To people.
So we both tested the DxO1 a little bit. This is a plug-in camera that docks into your Thunderbolt lightning port rather on an iPhone, I assume 5S, 6 or 6 Plus or 6S or 6S Plus. And it's the same sensor as in the Sony MX100 Mark III, right?
RX100 Mark III, and it's a really nice quality sensor. On a really small form factor, but a bunch of problems with it. Our video review is up on it. I wouldn't recommend it, but I think it's a really cool idea that they want to put a high quality sensor in a small form factor.
If it had the ability to do, if it had a zoom optics, if it had better optics, because the problem with it is partly that it has small optics, right? It's not like a point and shoot optics like on the RX100 where you have a Zeiss zoom lens that's actually pretty nice.
One of the ways
that would
it
help?
gets its size is the small optics, but I think the battery life is a big problem. Overheating is a problem. Its price is a problem. It's $600, and all these things combined make it a really difficult thing to just buy if you're looking for a $500 or $600 camera.
Wow. iPhone 6S Plus. You've been using it for 2 weeks now. I've been using it for a week and a half.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you've been using the 6S.
Yep.
I have not had the battery life problems that you've had.
So after bitching about it on last week's podcast, I did some further analysis and looked at what I was actually using on the days that I had battery life problems, because I noticed that the first couple of days I had terrible battery life, and then following that I had okay battery life. And the deciding factor seems to be GPS use. So on the days that I had bad battery life, I was spending a lot of time in the car. With the iPhone 6 Plus, the previous generation phone, I'd never even bothered plugging it in while I was in the car, because even with GPS on, I was still getting 80% battery use over the course of a day. So I was fine into the night. With this, I was hitting 40% after a few hours. It was going really fast. Driving to the East Bay and back, or driving down to Sunnyvale and back, would basically empty 2/3 of my battery. And the Ars Technica guys wrote a more in-depth, I think Andrew over at Ars wrote a more in-depth piece about his battery testing with the Samsung versus TSMC. And the thing that he found actually aligned with what Apple said, which was that under typical use circumstances is not 100% CPU load or heavy CPU load. The two phones are within a very small margin of error in terms of battery life. However, when you load the Samsung phone up with high CPU, as you do when you run Geekbench, which was the benchmark that the Reddit user used, what Apple described as atypical workloads, you have the Samsung phone had decidedly inferior battery life.
Yep.
My wife, who's using my old 6 Plus right now, does not like the 6 Plus. I am thinking I'm going to take this 6S Plus back, get a 6S for my wife, and then get a 6S Plus in a few weeks.
Wow.
When they've
double
worked out
down.
the problem. Yeah. Well, she doesn't care about battery. Doesn't affect her.
You're buying two phones. Two new phones.
Well, I mean, at some point in the future, I'm going to buy two phones regardless.
Yep.
But this is the year.
It's inevitable.
Every year.
Every year.
Every year.
You can get some nice cheddar for that 6S though. The 6 Plus.
Both of them. I need to fix this. The reason we had to get a new phone in the first place was somebody dropped her 6S and
Or 6.
her 6, and it was there were problems. Anyway,
Gotta watch your 6. Gotta watch your 6.
Gotta watch
That's
your 6.
funny. That's good.
That was quick. Norm.
The Mac, the Next Cube, and the iMac. Those are the 3 events.
iMac. Weird.
The first iMac.
No.
The blue ones.
The Steve Jobs came back.
Wow, I
to
forgot
Apple
those were
iMac.
iMacs.
Yeah.
The
All
candy color
before iPhone.
So what was it?
Yes.
What was it again?
The original
Apple II?
Mac. No, the Mac. The Next Cube. So different company.
Okay.
And then back to Apple for the iMac.
Wow.
So this is all before the huge rise.
Yep. Yeah.
Amazing.
The thing I'll say about the 6S Plus is that the 3D touch, force touch, whatever the fuck you call it, the thing where you can press hard and then weird things happen.
Yeah. 3D touch.
The ability to deep link into applications that I use all the time and go straight to the part of it that I use.
You like that?
For example, with Genius Scan, every time I open it, I have to go open the thing to do a scan. Now I just go straight to the make a new scan from the camera page, and I'm done in a third of the time that it took me before.
You're a power user.
I am a power user.
Not nearly enough places.
It's rolling out on more applications all the
Really
time.
slow. It's been a month. Not real good so far.
I want to see a game use it in a really interesting way.
Yeah, it's a way underused feature.
Yes, it is a way underused feature. But like anything else, adoption on new apps
Buy
takes
products
time.
for what they are right now and what you get now, not for what it's going to promise.
I mean, no, that's true. However, if you look at like the gate right now seems to be the time it takes an app to clear Apple's process.
I don't know that.
No, I do, because Paul from Tapbots, who makes Tweetbot, posted when he submitted the app 3 days after the iPhone 6s came out.
So I'd still say,
And it
wait,
just cleared yesterday.
Wait until way more apps use it.
Fair. I mean, it's fast too. That's the other big thing I noticed. It's crazy fast compared to the 6. Anyway, Smart Things 2. Did we talk about this a couple weeks ago?
I don't
think so. I thought so.
Maybe we did.
We're always talking about your smart stuff.
Smart stuff. It's now that I have it set up, it was a bit of a pain to set up. I feel like we talked about that a couple weeks ago. Now it works. It's great. When the internet goes down, my programs keep running, which didn't happen before. It doesn't require 24/7 connection to the internet in order to work, which is good if you have unreliable internet, which I do on occasion. And other than that, it works exactly the same as it did. So the people had asked how it was working, because last time we talked about it, I just bitched about the setup process, which was the upgrade process, which was, as established, a living nightmare.
It doesn't support HomeKit, does it?
It does not support HomeKit.
Are they going to try to bridge that somehow?
So it has a USB port.
Yeah.
Smart Things is owned by Samsung now. So,
Yeah.
they've committed to supporting Apple. Like, they have watch apps. They support touchscreen. The Apple apps gets updated, I think, faster even than the Android apps usually. But I don't know that HomeKit requires additional hardware. The new hub has USB ports, so conceivably you could buy a HomeKit compatible dongle, jam that in there. I don't know that they're going to do it. I think HomeKit might actually be dead. Nobody's supporting it.
So no. Well, Hue just released their hub for it.
It's a different piece of hardware, though, right?
Yeah, it's additional hardware, but it does bridge their lights to HomeKit.
Yeah, but the Hue bridge to Smart Things and Wink is pretty janky, and it requires that you have an additional piece of hardware in your house, which kind of like I use some Hue bulbs just because the colored lights are really nice. The light on the Lux bulbs is, I think, the best light on a smart bulb, which it should be at $35 a bulb or whatever those Lux bulbs cost. But it is not an ideal solution. And like, they have some security problems. Like, all of their communication happens over HTTP calls that are unencrypted and wide ass open. There's no auth or anything like that. It's a little like, once you hook in, anybody that's on your subnet can control the Hue bulbs using command line scripts if you want.
That's awesome.
Which is very cool if you're a nerd.
Yeah, I like that. Also
very scary if you're a nerd. Means you shouldn't have a Wi-Fi network open, but that's true of all people. El Capitan's been out for a few weeks now.
Yeah, if you use Adobe products, don't update yet.
What's wrong with Adobe? I use Adobe products.
Yeah, Joey's been having a ton of problem with El Cap, and we got company-wide notices.
So don't upgrade?
Office 365 and Adobe, hold off for a little bit before you update.
What are the? I've been using it and haven't had any problems at all.
Premiere Pro?
Yeah. I'm a light Premiere Pro user.
I think you're a light user, probably is okay.
Yeah.
But if you're professional, hold off.
I mean, that's always good advice.
Yep.
What have you installed on your Mac yet, Norm?
I have. That's all right. I don't like the way the multiple desktop management is now.
Oh, really? I actually like that with the bar across the top.
I don't like it. I don't like that. I have to hover to see what's on each of the desktops.
I don't use multiple desktops because I don't know. I don't use my laptop that much.
Oh.
How do you access multiple desktops?
You swipe down with 3 fingers or swipe up with 3 fingers.
Oh God. I just like the notes.
Swipe down with 4 fingers.
The what?
The notes support. I like the new notes. There it is. It's
with the drawings and the straight lines and all that
and
stuff.
And the lists. Yeah, and that's the notes app that should have been there for years now.
Yes,
and
agreed.
that's now supported across OS 10 and iOS.
I'm generally like it seems a little snappier. I don't know if that's just I haven't done any benchmarks, but everything feels like a lot of the old frame lag on rendered windows and stuff is better, especially on the integrated graphics on my Retina 13-inch MacBook. But yeah, it feels like a really minor. It feels like a Snow Leopard style, fairly minor upgrade to me. Battlefront beta, Star Wars Battlefront. Has anybody played this?
I wish I had.
Did you not play it?
No, I really wanted to, but I just didn't have the time.
Oh.
But I watched some videos of people playing it. It looked like a ton of fun. I mean, it really looks great.
It's basically what I've done right before bed for the last however long it's been running since they opened the beta on Friday.
Yeah.
Norm, did you play?
I don't have time.
Okay. It's an interesting mix of good and bad. There's two modes. I initially did not like the drop pod mode. So the one mode, the first mode that they recommend you get into is basically like 16 or 20 players combined on both teams. They drop these drop pods, and it's a mad dash for everybody on both teams to go capture that drop pod and defend it for X number of minutes. And then once that completes, one way or the other, whether you win or lose, they drop another pod. And it seems like they kind of balance that by putting the pods nearer the main clump of players that are on the team that's doing poorly.
So like TF2 had a mode that's similar to that acts as a tug of war where you're trying to capture points.
Yes.
Right? But this is the point.
These aren't sequential.
Right. So these get dropped in random areas. So
there's a set number of places that they drop,
Yeah.
but it seems like it is either random
That's interesting.
or they use the drops to balance it. There's no vehicles in that mode. So it's very much like your old Battlefield 2 Karkan or one of those small maps where there's limited vehicles, or maybe just ATVs or something like that. There's no tanks, there's no speeders, there's no airplanes. It's just infantry combat, a lot of sniping. The weapons, they did a pretty good job with. It feels like there's 4 weapons I think on each side. My favorite is the Stormtrooper blaster, the E11.
Really?
Which you would think would be terrible.
4 weapons.
Yeah.
Well, so the weapon system is you choose your basic weapon, the one that's your main gun, and then you also have 3 cards that you can pull from, and those cards are kind of how you spec your loadout. There was a limited number of cards in the beta, but things like grenades show up in the cards. There was a jetpack in the cards. There was a one-shot, like 7 or 9 second cooldown sniper rifle in the cards.
And how do you earn more cards?
The cards are not something you earn necessarily. So you unlock them. You earn currency when you complete a round. Basically, they divide the number of points you earn by 10, and that's the currency you get. And then you can buy access to cards. Some cards, like grenades, once you unlock them, you always have them, and it's just on a cooldown like WoW or Dota or whatever. You can chuck grenades every 7 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever. You can jetpack every 12 seconds. The jetpack is especially interesting because it makes parts of the map accessible that are otherwise inaccessible. There are other cards, the center card, so you get 3 cards that you can load up at any time. The 2 on the edges, the left and right bumper, if you're using a controller, are the always available ones. The ones in the middle seem to have charges. And you can get the charges. You find more charges on the map. There's power-ups strewn throughout the map. So unlike Battlefield where you start and there's a bunch of vehicles at your base where you spawn the first time, there's no base. You spawn, and then there will be power-ups that show up on your HUD and on the map, and those let you pick up things like snow speeders and X-wings and thermal, implosion, like bigger explosives, stuff like that. Those are special use. You only keep most of them for like the life that you have.
Oh, wow.
And most of them are used once and they're gone. So, for example, if you get an X-wing, you pull both bumpers at the same time, and you'll take a knee. A countdown timer goes, and as long as you aren't killed or shot while that timer is going, you then fade out of the map and fade back in an X-wing that's flying into the map area.
Cool.
So you don't have that guy sitting in the back of the base jumping around waiting for the X-wing to spawn.
Mashing E, yeah.
And where do you pick up an X-wing?
They're just strewn throughout the map. They seem to spawn in fixed places. Sometimes you'll get them by completing an objective. So, for example, in the drop pod thing, they come out of the drop pods. There's no X-wings in the drop pod game, but it'll be like a big, giant explosive, a trip proximity mine.
Yeah.
something. I can't remember what the other ones were.
And the dudes closest to the pod get the loot.
Whoever
That's just
gets
how
to
it
him
works.
first that doesn't already have one. So you can't also stockpile. You can only
Okay.
have one at a time. And I don't think you can drop it. You have to use it.
Interesting.
So, for example, if you pick up an ATST on the way to the AT-AT,
Yeah.
you're going to be a little sad because you have to use the ATST and you'll spawn in a different place. By the time you get there, the AT-AT will be gone. It means that you're much less grabby with stuff that you may not than you would be maybe otherwise. Because if you take an ATST and you squander that, your team is going to suffer and you'll probably lose.
So was that mode your favorite?
So the other mode was Battle of Hoth. It's an objective-based thing. Yes, initially I did not like the drop pod mode. After playing it a lot more, it's pretty good. Like, it's really interesting team deathmatch, and it takes away the vehicle problem that Battlefield always has, which is if you're on a vehicle map and you're not in a vehicle, you're basically going to get just fucked over and over and over again. You don't have that problem with this vehicle mode. With the no vehicle mode, basically. The other mode there were two other modes of the beta. One was a horde mode, survival, waves of enemies, pretty standard. I think that's 2 players, and you can play split screen on the same console.
It's only 2-player.
I think it's only 2-player,
Huh.
which is a little bit of a bummer. I like 4 or 5 players in that usually. I didn't actually play that with other people. I just played it. You can also play it by yourself, which was nice. And then the interesting mode, the one that seemed like it was the real winner early on, is like an objective based thing with vehicles on an enormous map. That's basically the Battle of Hoth. And if you're the Empire, you start with a couple of AT-AT walkers walking past the rebel base. There are several checkpoints along the way, and when the AT-AT reaches those checkpoints, which it can really not be slowed down at all, then Y-wing bombers will attack it. When Y-wing bombers attack it, it's vulnerable to fire from everybody on the field, basically everybody on the rebel team. And the way you get the Y-wing bombers is by capturing these uplinks and holding them for a period of time. The longer you hold them, the more Y-wings you get.
Yeah.
And that means the longer the AT-AT is vulnerable.
Are there players driving the AT-ATs?
Players can take the gunner seat in the AT-AT.
And is
so
that
the
a-
AT-AT follows a fixed path.
Okay.
But the players and that can be a really fun, awesome thing if you get it at the right time. But if you get it when the AT-AT is far away from any objectives where people are,
It's kinda boring.
then you're basically firing at like pixels halfway across the map.
But
which sucks.
Is that a vehicle type thing where you have to hide and hold down 2 buttons?
You have to hide and hold down 2 buttons,
okay.
and then you spawn back into the AT-AT. If you get an ATST, the little chicken leg walker, 2-leg walker thing, then you can kind of drive that anywhere you want. It's like a tank equivalent. You can get A-wings, X-wings, TIE Advanced, TIE Fighter, or TIE Interceptors, TIE Fighters, Snow Speeders. If you get a Snow Speeder and you're good at it, it's the only way you can do. You can't do damage to the AT-AT walkers unless they've been hit by the Y-wing. And there's, I think, 3 places where the Y-wing bombers attack.
It takes its shields down or something?
Takes its shields down or whatever. Yeah, it's basically stuns it if you're playing a fantasy game. When it's stunned, like you can load up, you can chuck grenades at it, you can shoot it with blasters, and it actually does damage.
Can you tell how much damage it's doing to it?
Yeah, so you have the HUD has 2 icons, one for each AT-AT, and there's a circle around the edge that shows their relative health.
Cool.
There's no way for them to regenerate health. Basically, you have to, if you're the Imperials, your job is to keep the rebels from capturing those uplinks, because the more times they capture those uplinks, the more Y-wings they have, and the more time the AT-AT is going to be vulnerable. In the beginning of the beta, when people were all low level and didn't have access to the higher power weapons, basically the AT-ATs were unstoppable. The last night of the beta that I played, we beat the AT-ATs half the time.
That's interesting, because I read that map is more about, it's unbalanced by design.
Yes, it is.
And
Yeah.
that's more about, if you're playing as the rebels, losing with dignity.
Well, so that's the way it was the first couple of days.
Yeah.
Once people got good at flying the snow speeders, and once people got good at flying the spaceships to give cover to the snow speeders, so the TIE fighters didn't just blow them out of the air, the snow speeders get really effective, and you can use the tow cable thing to probably take down one relatively easily.
Is there just one pilot per speeder?
I think it's one pilot per speeder.
Okay.
The other,
Yeah, right.
yeah, sorry, Dax. Sorry, Dak. Rather, the other thing that happens is there's orbital barrages, which are basically huge artillery blasts that come in from space, and those were really, really effective against the AT-ATs, but only when their shields were down. And there's a really limited timing window on getting the orbital barrage lined up. And it's basically a thing you hold up a pair of binoculars and you aim it at the spot you want and hold the trigger for X period of time, and then the heavy rain falls. those were really effective and basically are one-shot kills, but the timing is really, you have to be really precise.
Are they one-shot kills even with the shields up?
No, if the shields are up, they do nothing.
They do nothing?
Nothing.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, they kill all the Imperials around the AT-AT war, so you get a shitload of points. But so like I said, I started out really hot on that map because it's huge. It's really gorgeous. My wife was even watching me play. Like, this game looks really good. Is this a PC game? I was like, no, I'm playing on PS4.
It looks amazing.
It looks unbelievable. It is the Star Wars blastering. There's no clips. You basically you can spray and pray if you want. You can semi-auto all the blaster rifles. Some are really fast. Some are a little bit slower and a little more powerful. Some have wider cones of fire, but there's no reloading. So you basically overheat. And you manage the heat on the blaster, which gets really easy over a period of time. If you do overheat, there's an active reload similar to Gears of War where you can hit the button at the exact right time and it'll give you a fast clip swap.
Oh, neat.
It's really compelling. I went into that thinking, I'm going to play this beta and then I'm going to have all the Battlefront I need. And now I think I'm probably going to buy Battlefront. So.
Oh, yeah, for sure. How much more will the full game have?
I assume a bunch more maps. So there were a bunch of other game types that weren't playable in the beta. It didn't seem like there was any weird microtransaction stuff, which was nice.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of places that they could put that in if they wanted. It wouldn't surprise me to see this kind of game being released as the games with gold or the PlayStation Plus program down the road a little bit when they're starting to see server counts drop or player counts drop and dump that out with some microtransactions in to kind of juice the playable audience, because you need a lot of people playing these games. That Hoth map had 40 or 60 people and it was enormous.
You're talking a while from now.
Yeah, I mean 6 months or a year.
You think it might drop off that soon?
The tail on multiplayer games is pretty fast unless they get a real good audience really fast. So I don't know. I was really pleasantly surprised by it. I'm interested in playing more.
It's coming out in a month.
Coming out in 1 month exactly. November 7th, I think. Less than a month.
Oh, is that early?
Maybe.
Yeah, I thought it was mid-month.
I don't know. And Rock Band 4 came out last week, or maybe the week before. I can't remember.
Yeah, reviews are kind of iffy on that.
It's more Rock Band.
If you like Rock Band and you want to get back and you have your instruments,
I put the band back together.
I guess what I read was the new drum was and all that.
Well, and the Ion drums don't work, which bums me out as an owner of the Ion drums.
Oh, wow. Surprised.
Yeah, but I got the little box. You can get the box for $25 on Amazon that lets you use your old instruments with it. And my wife and I played a little Rock Band. The import process for old music, if you've bought a bunch of DLC, is kind of nightmarish.
Oh boy. Slow?
You have to go through the list of all the available DLC. There's no indicator on the Xbox menu that says, hey, here's the stuff that you own.
Yeah.
So you have to click into each one that you think you may have bought, look at it. If it has a price, then you haven't bought it. If it says download, then you have. You click download, and then it downloads each one individually. They also haven't added the the track packs that you either got as discs or when you could import your Rock Band 1 DLC into Rock Band 2 or Rock Band 2 songs into Rock Band 3. That stuff's not available yet, nor is the Green Day, the Lego Rock Band, or any of that stuff. And of course, the Beatles will never be available in anything other than Beatles Rock Band.
Right. That import process sounds like they didn't have enough time to do it right.
I think that my guess, it seems like it's a little bit easier on the PS4 if you had PS3 DLC. My hunch is that Microsoft didn't give them the hooks needed.
You think?
Because
they get the download, they know whether or not you've got it before because it has the different icon, right? Either price or download.
But you have to click in to see that. So this is all in the Xbox store. This isn't in the Rock Band. So in Rock Band 3, remember, they gave you that interface for DLC that you could buy directly from Rock Band.
I didn't remember that.
I don't think that they have the API hooks to do that in the game so that they could build their own tool. That would be my guess. Or maybe they didn't have time to do it. But the gameplay is great. They added some new stuff to it. So you can do like guitar solos that are a little bit more freestyle.
Yeah, I saw that. And you can even sing a different note than it says on screen.
Yeah, like
as long as you're in key.
You have to be harmonious.
Right.
But that seems to work pretty well.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's great for people who don't have like falsettos and high voices for pop music.
Yep. And
then you use the small buttons to do solos. So you have to switch between the big buttons and the small buttons. And it feels, they also, the other thing they did is the tutorials are much better now. So they actually teach you how to strum up and down and why you would want to do that when you need to do like double time strums on a 180 beat song or something like that. and even 4-beat songs. It's a much better onboarding process than we've seen in the past.
Cool.
So yeah, Rock Band. It's $60 though, and the songs that come with it are kind of for me. It's a bunch of people I don't know, and then like 3 old songs.
It came along fast. I mean, it was this year that Harmonix released a poll saying, "Would you buy a new Rock Band game?" Because we're thinking about it. So
was it? It was January or something?
Yeah, it was early. Yeah, it was this year.
Because I saw they were selling guitars at PAX East in February or March.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's pretty good. Glowforge, Norm?
Yeah, last 2 things before we wrap up the show. Next week, look out for, or actually later this week, look out for follow-up for a Glowforge coverage and interview. This is the laser cutter that I know a lot of our listeners are excited about. We chat with Dan Shapiro at Glowforge when we were up there in Seattle, and we learn a little bit more about how the printer is going to work, what you can do with it.
The cutter is going to work.
And laser cutter is going to work, how you're going to work with it, and some of the maintenance that's going to be involved. And then we have a live show coming up. This is actually next week, Friday. We announced our full lineup of speakers and guests for the live show, and very, very excited that Adam's Talking Room guest this year is going to be Dava Newman, who is the Deputy Administrator of NASA, as in one of the people running NASA.
Yes. And she's also, when she was at MIT, she did the biosuit research, which if you haven't seen it, you should go look up. But it's basically the skin tight, less armored pressure suits that allow you to be more mobile and expend less energy when you're being more mobile in low vacuum. It's really cool.
Actually the suit that if you watch Ridley Scott movies like Prometheus or The Martian, those skin type EVA suits are based on.
Yes. So that's it for us this week, I guess. Thank you guys for watching and or listening. We will be back next Thursday with another episode of This Is Only a Test. If you want to get tickets for the live show, it's testedtheshow.eventbrite.com. We still have a few left. If you want to get them, I would encourage you to hurry up and go get them now because they are going fast. Jeremy Williams, you'll be there.
I can't wait. I loved your show last year. I'm looking forward to this one.
We've got some weird stuff planned, and I know you're taking part in some of it, although probably not on stage this year.
Not vocally, but I did have a part in it, and I'm looking forward to seeing if it works.
Yeah.
Anything new from you? Anything you got cooking?
Just working on the game frame is this close to going into production, the revision, and I'm super excited about sharing the details on that soon.
And you're going to kickstart this one, or is this just going to be something you can go to the store and buy?
No, I'm confident, having done the Kickstarter, that there is a market for this, so I'm just bootstrapping it, we call it in the upstart world. Mm-hmm. I hired a photographer to shoot some photos this weekend, right,
Norm?
Norm?
It's good. Hope it's good photographer.
Yeah, me too.
Amateur or pro?
Amateur.
Okay. If you don't know what the game frame is, it's that thing between Norm and Jeremy on the set. People ask us about it all the time. Jeremy made it as a Kickstarter product, 2 years ago now?
Yeah, it was last February, so
okay.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah, and you built a bunch of them, 1,000-ish, maybe a few more than that.
Yes, of the
first round.
Yep. And it was, I still have more demand, but I couldn't keep building them because I built them by hand. So I've just re-engineered it, and I've thought through how to do it at scale. Everything's been revised, absolutely everything.
Cool.
Yep.
So you'll be able to find out. We'll talk about that more in the future when you're back on the show and ready to have details.
Sounds good.
Norman Chan, anything for you?
Everything on tested.com.
Cool.
Check it out.
And we'll be back next week with more podcasts. See you guys then. Today's outro comes to us from Austin D3D. See you next week. Hi there, I didn't see you. Tested. Microsoft.
How about that?
Who would have thunk it? Tested. Patrick and I were very surprised by Microsoft last week. We need more outros, so if you have an outro, post it on the site. Google raw outro song file. Make sure you mark the file downloadable on SoundCloud.
More Will outros.
I mean,
more Will outros because
while you can.
Yes, while you can.
I'm not going to be here next week, but the week after is going to be my last show. I hope you're having a party. Are you getting a cake?
No cake.
No cake?
I'm not telling you what's happening.
You better have something cool planned. We'll see you guys next week.
I got to get to Pinball League.
Bye.